Titles say 2%. That's the slice of your DNA that actually builds proteins, the microscopic machines of life. So what's the other 98% doing? Napping. Myth. It's junk. Fact. It's encrypted. Not with a password. With layers of biology we're still decoding. Let's unpack the myth first. When scientists first mapped the human genome, they found surprisingly few protein-coding genes. Cue the headlines. Junk DNA. But junk was really we don't know yet. Here's the fact. The non-coding 98% is a vast operating system. Switches, dials, regulatory elements tell the 2% when, where, how loudly to speak. Promoters, enhancers, silencers, think light dimmers, not light switches. The same gene can build a neuron in your brain and a pigment cell in your eye, just by reading different instructions from the so-called junk. Then there's structure. DNA doesn't float like spaghetti. It folds into 3D neighborhoods. Loops bring distant pages of the genome face to face, so an enhancer can whisper to a gene across town. That 3D architecture is like a city, same buildings, different map, different life. Non-coding RNA, tiny RNAs fine-tune gene volume, long RNAs scaffold machinery. They don't make proteins, they make decisions. And the repeats, the echoes, the ancient stowaways called transposons. Yes, they're messy. But evolution repurposes mess. Some repeats become regulatory hubs, stress sensors, raw material for new tricks. So why call it encrypted? Because the message is real, but the grammar is layered. DNA letters, epigenetic marks, chemical sticky notes saying, read this or skip that. 3D folding, who sits next to whom on the genome bus. Context flips meaning. The same sequence can silence in one cell, shout in another. Proof? Most risk variants don't touch proteins. They land in regulatory zones, change the timing or location of gene expression, and you can shift height, mood, immunity, even disease risk. The 2% writes the nouns, the 98% edits the story. Imagine a place that held the collective knowledge of the ancient world. Maps, science, poetry, philosophy, written on thousands of precious scrolls. This wasn't just a library, it was the beating heart of human curiosity, a treasure trove where the brightest minds gathered to learn, debate, and dream. Every scroll was a window into a different civilization, a different way of thinking, and together they formed a tapestry of wisdom that stretched across continents and centuries. That was the Library of Alexandria. Nestled in the bustling city at the crossroads of Africa, Asia, and Europe, it stood as a beacon for anyone hungry for knowledge. Its walls echoed with the footsteps of scholars, travelers, and philosophers from every corner of the known world. Think of it as the world's first giant Wikipedia, but made of papyrus. Instead of hyperlinks, there were handwritten notes in the margins. Instead of servers, there were shelves upon shelves of scrolls, each one painstakingly copied by hand. And just like your favorite website going offline, one day, it all vanished. The shelves were emptied, the voices silenced, and the light of knowledge dimmed, almost overnight. So how did the human wiki get wiped? Was it a single disaster, or a slow unraveling over centuries? The truth is, the story is shrouded in mystery and legend. Well, the truth is, nobody really knows exactly how it happened. Historians have debated for centuries, piecing together clues from ancient texts and scattered ruins, but the full story remains elusive. Some blame Julius Caesar. When his troops set fire to the ships in the harbor, flames reportedly leapt to the library itself. In the chaos of war, knowledge became collateral damage, lost in a sea of smoke and ash. Others point fingers at later rulers and religious zealots who saw knowledge as dangerous, or simply didn't care. Over the centuries, the library faced neglect, political upheaval, and waves of intolerance that chipped away at its legacy. It wasn't so much one cataclysmic event, more like death by 1,000 cuts. Scrolls decayed, were stolen, or simply forgotten as the world changed around them. But here's the wild part. The library wasn't just a building, it was a symbol, a beacon that drew scholars from Greece, Egypt, Persia, and beyond. It was a living network of ideas, a place where cultures collided and collaborated. They debated, translated, and preserved works that might have been lost forever. The library's scribes worked tirelessly, translating texts into Greek, Latin, and other languages, making knowledge accessible to generations yet unborn. Imagine if all the world's hard drives just blinked out. That's how it felt when the library disappeared. Centuries of progress erased in the blink of an eye, leaving humanity to start over in so many ways. We lost more than books. We lost cures, stories, even the original works of some of history's biggest names, gone without a trace. The wisdom of entire civilizations, the secrets of ancient science and medicine, all vanished into the void. Some say the real tragedy is that we'll never know exactly what vanished with those scrolls. The gaps in our history are like missing puzzle pieces, and we can only guess at what wonders were lost. But here's what sticks with me. The library's dream didn't die. Its spirit lives on in every place where people gather to share knowledge, to ask questions, and to seek the truth. Every time we build a library, start an archive, or even share a new idea online, we're chasing that same spark. The dream of Alexandria is alive in every click, every book, every conversation that keeps knowledge moving forward. Maybe the human wiki is still out there, just waiting for curious minds to piece it back together. And maybe, just maybe, the next great leap in human understanding will come from someone inspired by the memory of a library that refused to be forgotten.
I want to challenge something you've heard 1,000 times. The Mandela effect is just bad memory. But what if it isn't only memory? What if my brain, and yours, is more like an antenna? Think about it. Radio tunes frequencies. Wi-Fi grabs packets. My brain, it tunes patterns. When I remember Bernstein, Berenstain, am I retrieving a file or retuning to a version of events my mind once locked onto? Cognitive dissonance kicks in here. I know the cereal box had a hyphen, except it didn't. My certainty fights the evidence, and it feels like reality shifted under my feet. Memory is reconstructive, sure, but reconstruction still needs a blueprint. Where does that template come from? Brains are prediction engines. At every moment, mind forecasts the next letter, the next face, the next beat. It fills gaps with the most likely world. Here's the twist. Likelihood is context. Change the context, change the world I lock onto. Shift the tuning, and my inner antenna grabs a different station. You felt it. Walk into an old childhood room, same objects, different vibe. It's like swapping the lens on the same scene. Split-second perception shows it too. Look once. See a vase. Look again. Two faces. Same photons. New reality assembled. The Mandela effect might be this assembly process going meta. Not proof of parallel universes. Proof my brain can briefly sync with alternatives it finds plausible. Like an antenna catching overlapping stations, I hear two songs at once, and my memory pins the wrong chorus onto the right beat. Is that failure, or a superpower misfiring? Because if I can mistune, I can retune. Try this tonight. Pick a vivid Mandela example, close your eyes, recall it with ridiculous detail, texture, color, font. Then open the real version and calmly compare. No blame, just curiosity. Notice the point your certainty shifts. That's the tuning knob. Do it again tomorrow with a different memory. Song lyrics, logos, quotes. You're not deleting errors, you're training reception. Maybe the brain isn't a hard drive. Maybe it's a live broadcast engineer, mixing incoming signal with expectation. And exporting a world I can act in. So the Mandela effect. Less my memory is broken, more my antenna is powerful and sensitive. If that flips your mental switch, hit subscribe. Tell me your wildest Mandela moment in the comments, and what it felt like when your reality clicked. I'm reading every single one.
Imagine you wake up and 85% of your house is missing. Walls, furniture, everything. Yet your coffee mug is still sitting on the table like nothing's wrong. That's our universe. Most of it is invisible, and somehow it's still holding everything together. Today I'm going to prove why dark matter is basically the Matrix's RAM, the hidden memory keeping the cosmic simulation from crashing. Hooked? Good. Let's start with what we can't see. Galaxies spin way too fast. By the math, they should fling apart like a merry-go-round with no bolts. But they don't. Something heavy, glues them together. We call it dark matter. Not because it's spooky, but because it doesn't shine, reflect, or absorb light. It's like the silent background process your laptop runs that you never notice until you close it and everything freezes. Here's the analogy. In the Matrix, RAM stores the active world. Streets the agents, the rules you feel but don't see. In our universe, dark matter is that RAM. It doesn't show up on the screen. Stars, gas, nebulae, but it sets the stage where all those things can load, move, and stay coherent. When the universe booted up after the Big Bang, ordinary matter was hot, jittery, slippery. It couldn't clump on its own. Dark matter, barely talking to anything except gravity, settled into vast, invisible scaffolds. Call them data structures. Ordinary matter fell into those wells like pixels snapping to a grid. No dark matter, no grid, no galaxies, just a cosmic 404. We've mapped this hidden framework 3 ways. 1. Galaxy rotation curves. Stars orbit faster than visible mass allows. 2. Gravitational lensing. Space itself bends more than visible stuff accounts for, like a magnifying glass powered by a ghost. 3. The baby picture of the universe, the cosmic microwave background, has a fingerprint that screams, there's extra mass here. So what is it? Not atoms, not black holes mostly. Best guesses, new particles that barely interact, like WIMPs. Axion. Imagine there's a tiny engine inside every cell of your body, humming day and night. It's real. Mitochondria, the powerhouses from biology class. Today, I'll show you the energy heist you don't see. First, the basics. Mitochondria take food and oxygen and spin them into ATP, the spendable cash of your cells. Exchange rate set by habit, sleep, stress, environment. If that rate slips, it feels like someone is siphoning your fuel. Let's start with stress. Chronic stress floods you with cortisol and adrenaline. Short bursts help. But if the alarm never turns off, mitochondria shift into defense. Less building, more bracing. Translation: fewer ATP dollars, more exhaustion. Now, sleep. Deep sleep. Brain cleanup, plus cellular repair. Cut sleep, cut maintenance. Damaged mitochondria, multiply efficient ones, lag, your energy budget bleeds. Nutrition matters. You need raw materials. B vitamins, magnesium, iron, omega-3s, quality protein. Ultra-processed food gives calories without cofactors, like pouring fuel without spark plugs. Movement is the upgrade path. Mitochondria respond to demand. Walk, lift, sprint. Your cells say, we need more engines. They build new mitochondria and scrap the junk. No movement, the factory idles, good parts rust. Attention economy, invisible battery meter. Every notification ping jolts the stress loop. Multitasking fragments focus. Spikes glucose, nudges more cortisol. It looks like willpower, but it's biochemistry. Environment picks the lock. Poor air. Constant indoor lighting. Noise. Sunlight anchors your body clock, telling mitochondria when to burn and when to repair. Miss the cue, timing drifts. So does your energy. Is your energy being harvested? Not a villain. Systems designed for always-on leak it. The fix isn't a hack, it's a reset. 7-day reclaim plan. Day 1, protect sleep, same bedtime wake, dark cool room, no caffeine afternoon. Day 2, sun, 10 minutes morning light. Day 2, steps, 20-30 minutes walking. Day 3, protein and plants, protein at each meal, colorful veggies. Day 4, strength sparks, 2 sets of push, pull, squat, hinge, 20 minutes. Day 5, stress off ramp, 2 5-minute breathing breaks, 4 in, 6 out. Day 6, deep work, 90-minute focus block, phone outside room. Day 7, audit and adjust, notice biggest lift, double down.
If Earth had a magnet strong enough to erase every hard drive on the planet, it still wouldn't hold a candle to what I'm about to tell you. There are stars out there whose magnetic fields are so extreme, they can tear atoms into spaghetti. They're called magnetars, nature's most ridiculous magnets. A magnetar is a kind of neutron star, the leftover core of a massive star that went supernova. Imagine the sun, crushed down into a city-sized sphere about 20 kilometers wide. Now give it a magnetic field 1,000 trillion times stronger than a fridge magnet. That's 1015 Gauss. For comparison, an MRI is about 3 Tesla. A magnetar can hit 10 or 11 Tesla. At those strengths, the rules get weird. Electrons spiral so fiercely they quantize into tight tracks. Atoms stretch into needle-thin shapes. Empty space itself starts behaving like a prism. Light can split and change speed depending on polarization. Vacuum birefringence predicted by quantum electrodynamics and only recently hinted at in observations. Magnetars don't just sit there. Their crust, an ultra-dense lattice of nuclei, locks up tension until it snaps. Starquakes. When that happens, magnetic field lines twist and reconnect, releasing bursts of gamma rays and X-rays that can outshine the entire Milky Way for a split second. In 2004, SGR 1806-20 let loose a giant flare so bright it rattled Earth's ionosphere from 50,000 light-years away and saturated multiple satellites. If one went off within 10 light-years, it could strip our atmosphere. Luckily, none are that close. So where do these monsters come from? The best idea is a newborn neutron star spinning hundreds of times per second. That rotation, plus convection in the ultra-hot interior, acts like a dynamo, winding up a colossal magnetic field before the star slows down. And it slows fast. Magnetic braking bleeds rotational energy, powering bright X-ray glows and occasional outbursts for 10,000 years or so. Magnetars also glitch. Their spin rate suddenly jumps, like a cracked ice skater pulling in their arms. Possibly because superfluid components inside rearrange, and they might be connected to one of astronomy's big mysteries, fast radio bursts. In 2020, SGR 1935 Plout 2154 fired a radio blast so intense it finally linked at least some FRBs to magnetar flares. What would a magnetar do to you up close? At 1,000 kilometers, it could distort your molecules. Your credit cards? Wiped from a third of the distance to the moon. Get much nearer, and you're a charged particle painting spirals in a death coil. But they're also laboratories, natural particle accelerators and stress tests for the laws of physics we can't replicate on Earth. To me, magnetars are a reminder that the universe isn't just big, it's intense, tiny, dense, and absurdly powerful. They flip our intuition on its head and show us where physics bends but doesn't quite break. And somewhere, right now, one is holding its breath, waiting for the next starquake. When it snaps, the galaxy will hear it. Here's a weird one. Why do some submarines look like they're releasing smoke in the middle of the ocean? Aren't they supposed to be stealthy, silent underwater ninjas? Today I'm busting that myth and revealing what that smoke really is. Spoiler, it's not what you think. Picture this. Flat, calm sea. Then a dark trail on the horizon, like a ship's chimney. But the ship is a submarine. Kinda blows the secret agent vibe. So what's going on? Myth number 1. Nuclear subs vent reactor steam. Nope. Modern nuclear submarines use a closed-loop steam system. That hot water and steam run turbines in a sealed cycle and get condensed back into water. No chimney, no reactor steam puffing into the sky. So if you saw white vapor, that wasn't the nuclear plant letting off steam. Myth number 2. Submarines don't make exhaust. They do, just not all the time. Diesel-electric subs run big diesel engines to charge batteries when they're on the surface, or at periscope depth using a snorkel mast. Engines need air in and exhaust out. That exhaust can look like smoke, especially in cold air where hot, moist gases condense into a white or gray plume. Think of it like your breath on a winter day, but with diesel. Reveal number 1. Most smoke you spot is diesel exhaust during snorkeling. Depending on the fuel, engine load and air temp, it can be white vapor, light gray haze, or darker, if the engine's working hard. It's not constant. Subs only snorkel when they need to recharge or ventilate. Reveal number 2. Sometimes it's not smoke at all. It's mist. When a submarine surfaces or changes depth, it vents air from ballast tanks. That rush of moist air can hit cooler outside air and form a visible white cloud. It looks smoky, but it's just tiny water droplets. Reveal number 3. Deliberate smoke. Subs carry signaling gear for emergencies or helicopter approach. Think orange or red smoke canisters, or dye packs that stain the water. If you ever see bright-colored smoke near a sub, that's more like a big "hey over here" sign for safety or rescue. Bonus oddities. Hot galley air, laundry dryers, or generator exhaust mixing with sea spray can add wisps that read as smoke from afar. Also, missile or torpedo tests create dramatic plumes, but that's gas and spray from launch systems, not a chimney. So here's the simple breakdown. Nuclear subs, no reactor steam venting. Closed loop, diesel electric or hybrids when snorkeling, exhaust that can look smoky. Ballast vents, misty clouds, not smoke, emergency signals. Bright-colored smoke on purpose. Why it matters: understanding the physics. Hot gas meets cool air, moisture condenses, pressure vents, turns a mystery into plain old thermodynamics and engine science. And it explains why that secret smoke shows up only in certain modes, not all the time. Next time you see a clip of a sub with a smoky tail, you'll know if it's diesel exhaust, ballast mist, or a safety signal doing its job. The ocean still keeps plenty of secrets, but this one's officially unveiled. If this scratched your curiosity itch, tap like, and I'll tackle the next marine mystery.
The moon has a secret. The moon has a secret. I only ever see one face staring back at me. So what's the moon hiding on the far side, and why won't it turn? Quick answer: tidal locking. Gravity from Earth pulls harder on the moon's near side than its far side. That stretch raises a tidal bulge, like a handle the Earth can grab. Long ago, the moon spun faster. Friction inside the moon pulled by that bulge turned spin energy into heat, slowly breaking the rotation. Eventually, the moon's day matched its month, 1 spin per orbit, and locked. That's why I always see the same hemisphere. But here's the twist: I don't see exactly 50%. The moon's orbit is a bit stretched and tilted. It appears to wobble, a motion called libration. Thanks to that wobble, over time I glimpse about 59% of the surface. Still, the far side mostly stays hidden. Is it darker? No. It gets sunlight just like the near side. Dark side is more about mystery than shadow, but it does look different. Our side is splashed with big dark lava plains, Maria. The far side? Thicker crust, fewer Maria, more craters, rugged and ancient. Early on, Earth's heat likely kept the near side warmer and thinner. Impacts cracked it open and lavas poured out. How long did locking take? Probably tens of millions of years after formation, quick in cosmic terms. Could the moon unlock? Not really. Earth's tides still drain rotational energy. The lock is stable, but the story isn't frozen. Tidal forces also push the moon away, about 3.8 centimeters per year. The moon has a secret. The moon has a secret. I only ever see one face staring back at me. So what's the moon hiding on the far side, and why won't it turn? Quick answer: tidal locking. Gravity from Earth pulls harder on the moon's near side than its far side. That stretch raises a tidal bulge, like a handle the Earth can grab. Long ago, the moon spun faster. Friction inside the moon pulled by that bulge turned spin energy into heat, slowly breaking the rotation. Eventually, the moon's day matched its month, 1 spin per orbit, and locked. That's why I always see the same hemisphere. But here's the twist: I don't see exactly 50%. The moon's orbit is a bit stretched and tilted. It appears to wobble, a motion called libration. Thanks to that wobble, over time I glimpse about 59% of the surface. Still, the far side mostly stays hidden. Is it darker? No. It gets sunlight just like the near side. Dark side is more about mystery than shadow, but it does look different. Our side is splashed with big, dark lava plains, Maria. The far side? Thicker crust, fewer Maria, more craters, rugged and ancient. Early on, Earth's heat likely kept the near side warmer and thinner. Impacts cracked it open and lavas poured out. How long did locking take? Probably tens of millions of years after formation, quick in cosmic terms. Could the moon unlock? Not really. Earth's tides still drain rotational energy. The lock is stable, but the story isn't frozen. Tidal forces also push the moon away, about 3.8 centimeters per year.
The secret of Roswell wasn't the crash itself, it was the message, and this code was successfully broken, only twice. In 1947, cryptographers arrived to study the only thing that didn't burn, a metallic tablet covered in bizarre hieroglyphs. It was an instruction manual, an instruction containing two things, a map of our universe and a single, chilling warning. Today we reveal the final decoding. The first phase of the decoding took 40 years. It revealed a map, not of Earth, but of the stars. The symbols were a precise positioning system. They pointed directly to the home of the extraterrestrials, a location that perfectly matched the map later drawn by alien abductee Betty Hill. But the most shocking discovery, the map marked 4 other planets, besides their homeworld, all located in their system's habitable zone. Why were those 4 worlds marked so clearly? The second, and most difficult decoding phase took another 10 years, and it revealed the message itself. The message was simple, yet terrifying. Your experiment is dangerous. This wasn't a greeting, it was a direct warning about our new nuclear capabilities. That single sentence, recovered from the desert floor, explains why UFOs are still seen so frequently above our nuclear facilities. They are not merely observing us, they are attempting to control the weapons they warned us about, and our government has known this truth since 1947. Selbor. Officially, the US government now classifies this entire narrative as the Roswell hoax of 1947. But why would they spend millions to conceal a piece of metal if it was just a simple lie? The code has been decoded. Now you know the real secret the military was hiding. Subscribe to Kryptos Code 888 to help us crack the next mystery. What code should we break next? Let us know in the comments. At dawn they brought it in. Coordinates mapped to Zeta Reticuli.
This information is restricted.
Your experiment is dangerous. They couldn't unmake what they had unleashed.
Imagine walking a desert plain, finding a forest where every trunk is stone. Not statues, trees, turned to silicon. Today, I want to follow these silicon trees, the giants, that literally formed our landscape, and peel back the mystery of how life and rock braided together to make the ground beneath our feet. We tend to think of landscapes as carved by wind, water, fire. But plants, Especially the earliest tree-like giants were landscape engineers. Go back 350 million years to swampy worlds. Lycopsids, tree ferns, roots stitching muck into something that could stand. Those roots trapped sediments, slowed floods, built the layered floors of ancient valleys. Forests didn't just live on land, they made land livable. Here's the twist: silicon, volcanic ash, weathered rock releasing silica into groundwater, horsetails, grasses, leaving tiny glassy shards called phytoliths. Over deep time, water rich in silica seeps through buried wood, cell by cell, crystal by crystal, quartz, agate, jasper. That's how a tree becomes stone without losing its rings, its bark, its grain. A living blueprint, recast in silicon. Petrified forests are time capsules of that process. Think of the rainbow logs scattered through Arizona, upright trunks locked in cliffs in Argentina, Egypt, China, markers of where sediments piled up, where floods once raged, where volcanic glass rained from ancient skies. Each log is a pin on a map of Earth's memory, and the influence is bigger than a fossil. Early forests anchored riverbanks. Rivers meander, rivers braid, drop sand, drop silt. They built floodplains, which built deltas. They pulled carbon from the air, buried it, turned into coal. That coal reshaped coastlines. Humans dug it out, carved hills, stacked slag, roots that held continents together, and the rocks their bodies became. There's also a quieter silicon story still happening. Grasses armored with silica, grazers' teeth wear differently, soils build with microscopic glass, diatoms, tiny algae, glass shells raining down, chalky silica layers on the seafloor, later uplifted into cliffs, volcano, water, plant, stone, the silicon loop. Next time you pick up a piece of petrified wood, run your fingers across the rings. You're touching a tree that rerouted a river, thickened a floodplain, and, grain by grain, became quartz, a life form that turned into landscape. Giants, yes, but also masons. If you want more of these macro mysteries, where a single object unlocks a planet-sized story, stick around. The ground really is telling us everything.
All right, cosmic detectives. Let's chase a riddle. Could TRAPPIST-1E hold the key to alien life? Here's the game plan. I'm going to climb an evidence ladder, each rung a test. If it holds, we keep going. If it breaks, we climb back down. Rung 1. The star, TRAPPIST. 1. Is a tiny, ultra-cool red dwarf about 40 light-years away. Small stars live a long time, trillions of years, so there's plenty of time for life to get started. But small stars flare. A lot. So, +1 for longevity, -1 for mood swings. Rung 2. The zone. TRAPPIST-1E sits right in the habitable zone, where liquid water could exist on the surface, not too hot, not too cold, just could be right. Rung 3. Size and gravity. 1E is about Earth-sized with Earth-like gravity. Mountains stand, oceans stay put, an atmosphere can hang on. Rung 4. The neighbors. This system has 7 rocky worlds. More worlds, more lottery tickets for habitability, material exchange by impacts, like interplanetary carpooling for the building blocks of life. Rung 5. The atmosphere question. JWST has been sniffing starlight through these planets' atmospheres. For 1E, early results haven't found a thick, puffy hydrogen blanket, which is good. A thin, rocky planet atmosphere is still on the table. We haven't seen a clear Earth twin signature yet, but the door's open. Rung 6, the flares, again. Red dwarfs can blast planets with radiation. That could strip atmospheres, push life underground or underwater. If 1E has a magnetic field, a decent atmosphere, and ocean, it could ride out the storms. Earth did. Rung 7 tides and day-night. 1E is probably tidally locked. One side day, one side night. Sounds harsh, but global winds and oceans can move heat around. There's a terminator zone between day and night that might be surprisingly cozy. Rung 8. Chemistry. Rocky crust, water, volcanic outgassing, carbon dioxide, water vapor, maybe methane. Great ingredients. Life doesn't need magic. It needs gradients. energy differences to exploit. A star on one side and cold space on the other, that's a gradient buffet. Rung 9. Biosignatures. The dream is to catch oxygen-methane gases that shouldn't coexist unless something keeps replenishing them. That's a heavy lift, but JWST and future telescopes are aiming right at it. So, could TRAPPIST, 1E, hold the key? Here's my scorecard. Right size, right zone, promising atmosphere constraints, tricky star plausible climate workarounds, rich chemistry potential. It's not a slam dunk, but it's a legit contender. What happens next? More JWST transits to refine the atmosphere story. Better flare monitoring to see how rough the space weather really is. And in the 2030s, new giant telescopes might finally split that tiny signal and tell us if breathes. If life exists there, it changes everything here. Not because it's little green people, but because it proves life is not a fluke. It's a pattern. Until then, the smartest move is patience plus data. That's how you solve a cosmic riddle. And TRAPPIST-1E, it just might be the first answer we can read from 40 light years away.
Imagine a vast hidden network under our feet. It stretches across continents. It runs beneath the deepest oceans and moves with immense slowness. It holds ancient heat and incredible power. This network feeds life and stores the deep past. It guides the slow, constant change of our world. We can call it the Earth's crust, or we can see it another way. We can see it as an ancient, living motherboard. This idea changes how we view the ground we stand upon. It reveals a system of profound complexity and beauty, working silently below us. We interact with this crust every single day of our lives. So, what exactly does a motherboard do? Inside a computer, the motherboard is the central printed circuit board. It acts as the backbone of the entire system, connecting all components. Processor, the memory, the hard drive, able to communicate through shared pathways. It allows them to communicate with one another. It distributes electrical power where it is needed, the fundamental layer that makes separate parts work as one. Without it, a computer is just a box of silent, isolated components. Now, let us apply this idea to the Earth. The Earth's crust performs a similar role, on a planetary scale. It connects different parts of the Earth system, moving energy as heat, materials as molten rock and mineral-rich fluids. The crust is the medium for these connections. The crust is not a single solid piece. It is broken into giant slabs, tectonic plates. These plates are enormous. Some carry continents, others the deep oceans. All are slowly, constantly in motion, floating on the mantle. Heat from the Earth's interior drives slow-moving currents. Like conveyor belts, these currents drag the plates. Over deep time, continents drift and collide. At boundaries, dramatic things happen. Where plates pull apart, magma fills the gap, creating new crust. It is happening now, widening the oceans. Elsewhere, dense oceanic plates dive beneath continents, subduction. Buoyant magma rises, forging volcanic arcs like the Andes. When continents collide, mountains rise, the mighty Himalayas. The forces that move plates do not work only at boundaries. They create stress throughout the crust, rock cracks and breaks into faults. A fault is a fracture where movement has occurred. Some faults are vast. The San Andreas is a famous example. Where plates slide past, stress builds until rock suddenly slips. Shock waves ripple through the crust. We feel earthquakes, the motherboard alive. Seismic waves are tools, revealing the planet's interior. Faults act like wires, routing flow through the crust. They provide channels for water, oil, natural gas, and even magma. These pathways concentrate resources and move heat upward. Cracks are weaknesses and opportunities for movement and flow. A core part of Earth's operating system, reshaping landscapes and life above. Look closely at how valuable metals are found within the Earth's crust. They are rarely spread evenly, often concentrated in narrow bands called veins. Gold, silver, copper, and many others. Veins are physical evidence of ancient pathways, like delicate metallic traces. Deep water heats, becomes a powerful solvent and moves through cracks. It dissolves minerals, including precious metals, carrying them along hidden channels. As it rises, it cools and pressure drops. Minerals precipitate and crystallize. Layer upon layer builds over immense time, forming rich veins. To follow a vein is to trace an ancient circuit of the planetary motherboard. Distribution follows physics, temperature, pressure, and fractures channel materials. It's really an impressive natural process. Evidence of energy and fluids that once moved through rock. The Earth's crust moves vast amounts of energy, driven by heat from below. Heat flows upward, but not evenly. The crust is a varied insulator. Thick crust holds heat back. Thin, fractured crust lets heat escape. Hotspots are plumes feeding steady energy to the surface. The Pacific Plate moves over a hotspot, building a volcanic chain. A power port on a planetary motherboard. Hot water and steam emerge, windows into the crust's thermal workings. Clues to where the underground heat wiring nears the surface. In the dark ocean, superheated, mineral-rich water creates oases. Microbes perform chemosynthesis, powering a unique food web. Life powered not by the sun, but by the planet itself. The crust is a stage for life's drama, and a source of its materials. Its shape dictates our world, birthing new climates and habitats. Basins sink to form lakes, or even inland seas. The crust weathers into soil, the substrate of terrestrial life. Over eons, wind, rain, ice, and sun break rock into fertile particles. Those particles structure soil and release nutrients. Water follows the crust, carving valleys and carrying sediments and minerals. Nutrients enrich floodplains and seas, from tiny plankton to great whales. Rock becomes soil, soil feeds plants, plants feed animals. Life returns to the crust, sediments lithify back into rock. Materials cycle through life and back again, a profound partnership. The scenery and the script are written in stone. The crust is not just a facilitator, it is an archive. It holds a memory of Earth's deep past, pages in a great stone book. Reading these pages, we reconstruct ancient worlds and evolution. Rock texture and chemistry record climates long gone. Swampy forests, evaporating seas, sprawling ice, all saved in stone. The crust acts as long-term data storage. Some paths carry power, others, information. In Earth's crust, power lines are heat and magma pathways. Memory chips are layers of sediment storing fossils and climate. Wires are faults and fractures, releasing energy or moving fluids. The system moves, stores, and processes energy and information over time. Not a jumble, but organized, self-regulating over billions of years. Understand the motherboard, and we decipher Earth's ancient logic. The Earth is not a passive ball of rock, but an integrated system. Hidden networks of flow, channels for heat and chemicals. An ancient motherboard running the slow programs that create our world. What does this mean for us? First, respect. The crust directs immense power, creating fertile lands yet bringing quakes and eruptions. We strive to understand it, to live in harmony with it. Second, care. Our actions can alter ancient pathways. Proceed with wisdom. Finally, wonder. The ground beneath us is active, ancient, complex. When you step outside, feel the ground, and think of movements deep below. Think of veins of metal and deep layers of time. The Earth's crust, our ancient motherboard. It connects fire below with life above, records the past, and stages the future. We should learn it, care for it, and never cease to marvel at it.
Subtitles, all caps with per word highlight as spoken. Space doesn't hate you, but it definitely doesn't care if you survive. Tonight, I'm pulling back the curtain on the most dangerous stuff out there, and what you should actually worry about. First, the fear. Black holes. The name alone feels like a trapdoor. Get close and you'll stretch into spaghetti, real thing, spaghettification. But here's the truth. There isn't a black hole secretly hiding in our backyard. The nearest known one is thousands of light years away. Your odds? Basically zero, unless your travel agent books you a one-way trip to the event horizon. Next, gamma ray bursts. The universe's flashbang. A GERB can blast more energy in seconds than our sun will in its entire life. If one hit Earth dead on, our atmosphere would take a beating. Scary, but they're super rare, directional, and we're not in the usual line of fire. Magnetars. Think neutron stars with magnetic fields so intense they could erase your credit card from halfway to the moon. In 2004, one jolt pinged our satellites. Did we fry? Nope. We noticed, measured, moved on. Dangerous up close. Not a daily threat here. Solar flares, coronal mass ejections, this is the one to respect. The sun sneezes and our tech catches a cold. Power grids, GPS, planes, internet cables, all vulnerable during a strong storm. The 1859 Carrington event lit telegraph paper on fire. Today, it would cost trillions. The fix? Better forecasting, hardened infrastructure, and operators who can take systems offline for a few hours. Rogue planets and killer asteroids? Rogue planets drifting through space are real. But space is big, and collisions are rare. Asteroids are the practical risk. Good news. We're tracking the big ones, and missions like DART proved we can nudge them. That's us leveling up against the cosmos. Vacuum exposure, myth check. You don't explode. You pass out in seconds, and if you're rescued fast, you can live. Scary, sure. Movie physics, not quite. So what's the truth behind most dangerous? Up close, space is merciless. From Earth, the biggest realistic threats are solar storms and medium-sized asteroids, both manageable with brains, budgets, and early warnings. Here's the plot twist. Fear grabs attention, but facts give you power. The universe isn't a horror movie, it's a lab. Every burst, flare, and ripple teaches us how to predict, protect, and push farther. If you felt your heartbeat jump, good. Point that energy at curiosity, follow space, weather alerts, support planetary defense, and keep looking up, with a little awe and a lot of respect. Because the most dangerous thing in space, letting fear stop us from learning how to survive it. Subtitles, all caps, mirror the script above, with live word highlights synced to voice. Ever feel like time doesn't add up? Like somewhere, somehow the clock skipped, and we just kept going. Today I'm chasing the unsolved riddle of Earth's missing time. Let's start with the biggest vanishing act in history. In October 1582, people went to sleep on October 4th, and woke up on October 15th. 10 days. Gone. That's when the Catholic world switched from the Julian to the new Gregorian calendar to fix centuries of drift. England and its colonies waited until 1752 and had to drop 11 days. Imagine losing your birthday because math said so, but that's just the obvious stuff. Since 1972, scientists have added leap seconds, tiny 1-second patches, to keep our atomic time aligned with Earth's wobblier rotation. We've added 27 so far, and here's the twist. Earth has been spinning a little fast lately, which means we might face a negative leap second, deleting a second. A literal blink pulled out of existence. Then there's the missing year 0. Our calendar jumps from 1 BC to AD 1 with nothing in between. Astronomers work around it with their own numbering, but for everyone else, that gap quietly warps how we measure ancient dates. Daylight saving time. Every spring an hour vanishes. In fall we steal it back. Kind of. The clock changes. Your body not so much. And while we're on the subject, modern life runs on 2 competing clocks. There's UTC, our best attempt at a perfect atomic tick-tock. And there's UT1, tied to Earth's actual rotation, messy, tidal, tugged by the moon. They drift apart unless we nudge them with leap seconds. In 2022, the world's timekeepers agreed to phase out leap seconds by 2035. So, what happens when our clocks and the planet slowly part ways? Will noon stop matching the sun overhead? Here's where the riddle deepens. Physics says time is elastic. On a jet or a GPS satellite, time literally ticks differently. Your phone can find you because it constantly corrects for relativity. You live a few nanoseconds faster on a mountain than at sea level. It's not science fiction, it's Tuesday. There are wilder claims too. Some argue entire centuries were fabricated, the phantom time hypothesis. It makes for great late-night debates, but the evidence doesn't hold up against astronomy, archaeology, tree rings. So, where did the time go? Some of it was edited out, on purpose, to realign our days with the sky. Some was shaved off in seconds to keep our machines in sync. Some is always slipping due to gravity and motion. And some is only missing because our calendars are imperfect maps of a very weird territory. If this unsettles you a bit, good. It means you're awake to the puzzle. Check your watch. Now look up. The cosmos isn't on your schedule. And that's the riddle I can't stop thinking about. Not just where time goes, but who decides what counts. If you want a part 2, I'll dive into how we might live when noon and the sun finally disagree. Until then, don't just keep time. Question it.
Imagine opening your eyes to a perfect white room. No walls, no corners, just endless blank. You take a breath. Then, instantly, you're waking up. Someone saying, all done. That white room? That's where people say their consciousness goes during general anesthesia. But what is it really? I'm going to take you into that void and show you why it matters. Here's the strangest part of general anesthesia. There's no before and after inside it. With sleep, you dream. Time stretches, time bends, time leaves footprints. Under anesthetic, time disappears. You don't feel absent, you don't feel anything. It's not blackness, it's not silence, it's the absence of experience, like a page ripped out of your life. So what turns a vivid, chatty brain into a white room? Your consciousness depends on billions of neurons talking across wide networks. Thalamus, which relays sensations. Cortex, where meaning is made. General anesthetics, like propofol, dampen that conversation. Sevoflurane. They boost inhibitory signals. They quiet high-frequency rhythms. They uncouple distant brain regions that normally sync up. Think of a city losing its highways. Neighborhoods still exist, lights still glow, but the traffic that creates a living skyline is gone. On an EEG, the brain's electrical chorus, you can watch consciousness fade, fast waves that track attention and awareness. Melt into slower, heavier rhythms. Propofol smooths things down. Ketamine scrambles them in a dreamlike way. Nitrous is lighter, but the shared outcome is the same. The network can no longer integrate itself into a self. That's the white room, not a place, an interruption. People ask, was I aware? Modern anesthesia is designed with layers of safety, careful dosing, oxygenation, real-time vital signs, sometimes monitors that estimate depth of anesthesia. True intraoperative awareness under full general anesthesia is rare, and teams take it seriously. Your anesthesiologist's job is to keep your body stable, your pain blocked, your experience gone, until it's time to return. And return you do, like a system booting up. The default mode network rekindles. The thalamus gets back on the line. First, fragments, light, sound, a voice. Then the thread of eye catches and time flows again. So where did you go? Maybe that's the wrong question. Consciousness isn't a passenger that travels. It's a process that either runs or pauses. Under anesthesia, the process stops producing experience. The white room is a metaphor for that pause. Clean, empty, outside of time. And yet, it teaches something comforting. If a simple shift in chemistry can silence the self without suffering, then some edges of the unknown are gentler than we fear. The void isn't a monster. It's a feature of how minds work and how we heal. When you wake, the white room dissolves and life resumes mid-sentence. You didn't go anywhere. You were simply off, and now you're back. "72 seconds. That's how long the most famous maybe message from the stars lasted. The wow signal. 1. A narrowband whisper near the hydrogen line. Strong, clean, then gone. No repeat, no explanation, just a circled wow in the margins. Tonight I want to try something different. A countdown. If it returns right now, what do we do with 72 seconds to reset how we think about the universe? Second one, hear it. You spot a spike near 1420 megahertz. Pure, thin, a needle in the noise. Second 5, don't shout, hit record. Raw, lossless, full bandwidth. Both polarizations. Timestamp with GPS. Write once, read many. Second 12, check the room. Phones on airplane mode. Wi-Fi noted. Screens dim. Any local gear that could reflect or chirp, kill it. Second 18, check the sky. Pointing, elevation, azimuth locked. Log everything, weather, planes, satellites within the beam. Second 24, split the signal. 2 chains, one for analysis, one untouched. Look for drift, Doppler hints of motion, stable, accelerating. Second 30, is it terrestrial? Sweep sidebands, hop across nearby channels. If it follows the dish, good. If it follows the cable, bad. Second 36, phone a friend, quietly. Another dish, another city, point here, now. Independent confirmation is gold. Second 42, pattern hunt. Is it narrowband at 1 Hz wide? Does it wink, pulse, sing, hydrogen line adjacent? That's the cosmic watering hole. Second 48, RFI kill list. Known emitters, military birds, deep space probes. Cross them off, log your exclusions. Second 54, raw IQ. Snapshot saved every beat. If it changes, you can rewind the universe in software. Second 58, it fades, don't panic. They say they're hiring, but listen closely. Sometimes it's not a job, it's a trap. I've seen the red flags dressed up as opportunity. The quick interview that turns into a marathon of unpaid tasks. The trial project that's really free labor for someone else's deadline. The we're impressed email that asks for a credit card to secure equipment. Yeah, no. Here's the fear. A lot of open roles are ghost jobs, listings that exist to collect resumes, harvest ideas, look busy for investors. Some companies keep the ad up to benchmark salaries, build a candidate pool, satisfy a compliance checkbox, without intent to hire you. And scammers, copy logos, spin up look-alike domains, use chatty recruiters to ask for your info before you even meet a real human. I'm not here to scare you for clicks. I'm here to turn fear into facts. Fact 1. Real jobs don't charge you money. If they ask for payments, equipment, onboarding, background checks, training licenses, it's a trap. Fact 2. Real employers verify you through official channels. Your interview should come from a company domain, not a free email. Check the domain carefully. Letters swapped, extra dashes, odd country codes are classic tells. Fact 3. Real hiring has structure, clear steps, reasonable timelines, specifics about the role, manager, outcomes. If they dodge details or won't name the team, that's not mysterious, that's suspicious. Fact 4. Tests should be short and bounded. A paid work sample or a small exercise? Fine. A full campaign, a week of code, a finished design? That's theft dressed as evaluation. Fact 5. Urgency is a tactic. Decide today or lose the offer. Real companies don't hold your future hostage to a countdown clock. Now, how I filter the traps? Fast. I verify the listing at the source. Company site careers page first. If it's missing there, I walk. I validate the recruiter on LinkedIn with mutuals, tenure, post history, new account, no connections, generic headshot. Pass. I ask for specifics. Who I report to, day 1 deliverables, success metrics. Vague answers end the call. I set boundaries. No long unpaid projects. I'll do a 60-90 minute scope task max. If they push, I'm out. I protect data. No SSN, passport, full address until I'm signing through a secure portal. I check patterns. Dozens of identical listings, always open, zero employee chatter online. That screams pipeline, not hiring. I read reviews, but I read between the lines. Look for ghosting, bait and switch, endless final interviews. And one more thing, fake remote jobs love chat-only interviews. If they refuse video, won't show their face, or can't hop on a quick call during business hours, I assume it's a no. Here's the mindset shift. You're not begging for approval. You're vetting a business partner. Your time, your skills, your identity have value. If a door won't open without your wallet, your data, your free labor, that's not a door. That's a trap. Walk away. Then walk toward the places that respect you. Clear process, fair pay, transparent people. Because the right job isn't hiding behind tricks. It's waiting for someone who knows how to spot them. Imagine a book. That looks like it knows a secret about the planet you and I don't. Thick vellum pages, hand-painted plants that don't exist, star charts that don't match our skies, a language no one can read. That's the Voynich manuscript, about 600 years old. I think it might be the strangest user manual for Earth we've ever found. I don't mean a manual like plug in, turn on. I mean a guide with Earth. In Earth. Alongside Earth. Written in a code that has resisted every codebreaker for a century. If this is nonsense, why is the nonsense so consistent? The letters, let's call them glyphs, follow rules. Words repeat in patterns. Sentence structures look natural. It's as if someone designed a whole language to talk about life. Body, planet. Flip to the herbal section. Carefully inked plants, roots exposed, leaves labeled with that mysterious script. Some look almost familiar, like they evolved in a parallel garden. Then astronomy, wheels, stars, radiating suns, the geometry of cycles, biological, little figures bathing in green pools, flowing pipes connecting organs, organs that appear to be rivers. It's not a fantasy atlas, it's an instruction set made of metaphors. What if the author, whoever they were, thought Earth wasn't best explained with words we already had? So they built a language tuned to nature's rhythms, growth, flow, recursion, cycles. A manual for Earth would need to encode how to observe, not just what to do. Watch the stars for timing, the plants for chemistry, the waters for healing, the body as a map of the landscape. Skeptics argue hoax, but hoaxes love shortcuts. The Voynich offers none. Carbon dating places the parchment around the early 1400s. The pigments check out. That statistical naturalness of the text suggests real ideas, pushing a system to be consistent. So, how do you read a book no one can read? You look for the verbs. In the drawings, motion is everything. Stars orbiting, fluids circulating, stems spiraling. The manuscript keeps pointing to processes. Do this, and this happens. Observe this, and predict that. That's the grammar of a manual. I'm not saying the Voynich unlocks hidden superpowers. I am saying it captures a mindset we lost. Medicine, astronomy, botany. We split the disciplines. The book refuses to.
Project Solar Flare. Status. Black. Clearance. Eyes only. If you're hearing this, you weren't supposed to. Let me tell you a story the sun doesn't want you to know. I'm staring at a shredded memo stamped SF01, dated June 22, 2015. It says one thing, over and over: capture the star. Not metaphorically, literally, redirect, condense, weaponize sunlight. Sounds insane, right? It started with mirrors, billions of tiny ones, swarms the size of grains of sand. Launch enough into orbit and you don't just collect power, you steer it, concentrate it. Imagine a lighthouse beam, but it's the sun and the lens is the sky. Project Solar Flare had 3 layers. Layer 1, the Shroud, a mesh of reflective microsatellites hiding in plain sight among space junk. They called it glitter. Steering solar wind like sails, they drift into formation without firing a thruster. Cheap, deniable, invisible to anyone not looking for a pattern. Layer 2, the well. Stratospheric kites turning concentrated sunlight into raw electricity. No fuel, just heat and ionized air. Power beams down via microwave corridors narrower than a city block. Miss the target, and it's daylight. Hit the target and it's megawatts you can turn on and off like a lamp. Layer 3, the strike, not a death ray. That's not how the physics works, but a thermal punch, blind sensors, fry comms, melt wiring, quiet as sunrise. No crater, no smoke, just silence. Where? Test bed Bravo, out over the South Pacific, where storms erase footprints. A research ship saw the sky ripple at noon. Cameras white out for 3 seconds. Then the buoy field goes offline, one by one, as if the ocean swallowed their batteries. Who? Nobody signed the memo, but the money trail glows. Shell companies buying rare silvered polymer, university grants for adaptive heliostat arrays, launch manifests with ballast mass. That never comes down. Why now? Because energy is leverage, and daylight is everywhere. Control the switch, control the grid, control the grid, control the game. There's a catch. The sun doesn't play favorites. Tighten the mirror field, the atmosphere answers. Updrafts, turbulence, weird weather where the beam grazes. A pilot over the Atacama saw a heat road shimmer at 50,000 feet. I found one more line in SF-01, never dwell. It means don't hold the beam. Paint and move. Touch a satellite array for half a second. Goodbye bandwidth. Dance across a transformer farm. Good night city. Is this real? Here's what's real. We already bounce power through air. We already fly solar drones for months. We already seed orbit with swarms smaller than a thumbnail. Put the pieces together, and Project Solar Flare stops sounding crazy. It starts sounding inevitable. So what do you do with a secret that bright? You tell it before it burns you. If I'm wrong, I'm just another voice chasing shadows.
You think the sun is just a star? Think again. Every solar flare is a code, a message that is actively hacking your mind. You are under attack and you don't even feel it. NASA calls them coronal mass ejections. We call them invisible weapons. These electromagnetic pulses travel at light speed, hitting Earth's magnetic shield. But what happens inside your head when they hit? For decades, scientists dismissed this, but a secret 1980s experiment, codenamed Project Blue Beam, accidentally discovered the frequency. The frequency that links solar activity to human emotions and irrational decisions. Studies now confirm spikes in irrational behavior, anxiety, and even aggression during and after major solar flares. It's not a coincidence. This is the code of chaos, influencing millions. Why don't governments warn you? Because they understand the code. They've found ways to amplify or modulate these natural signals. Here's the headline that makes your stomach drop. AI can edit your DNA through a video. Sounds terrifying. It's also not how biology or reality works. Today, I'm unpacking the scary claim, the tiny truth inside it, and what you actually need to watch for. First, the shock. Deepfakes and synthetic media are getting so good that a fake scientist can look real, demo instant gene hacks, cite papers that never existed. That can push people into dangerous decisions, pills, kits, DNA upgrade services that are scams at best, harmful at worst. Now, the explain. You cannot alter human DNA by watching a video, scanning a QR code, or exposing yourself to a screen. Gene editing requires lab conditions, precise tools like CRISPR, biological materials, and safety oversight. None of that jumps through YouTube into your body. So where's the kernel of truth? AI really is accelerating biology, designing proteins, predicting structures, helping researchers. But that leap happens on computers and in controlled labs, not in your living room via pixels. Here's the real danger: misinformation engineering. Scammers use AI voices, AI faces, AI papers to sell miracle edits, gene detoxes, DNA frequency videos. They might link malware that steals data while promising genetic alignment. Spot the telltales. Time pressure, 48 hours before your DNA locks. Paywalls for secret protocols. experts with no searchable publications or mismatched credentials, visual glitches, hands morphing, text artifacts on lab shots, elastic blinks, screenshots of peer review with no journal link or DOI. Your quick defense kit: slow down. Fear is a feature, not a bug. Reverse image search the lab photos and the expert's headshot. Cross-check claims on trusted medical sites and university pages. Look up the paper on PubMed or the journal site, not a screenshot. Treat QR codes like raw oysters, only from sources you trust. If a video tells you, do this at home to rewrite your genes, that's not cutting edge. It's a con.
Okay, picture Saturn as the universe's most beautiful bathtub. Not because it's relaxing, but because it looks like someone pulled the cosmic drain. The storms at its poles swirl like water in a sink. The rings ripple like the surface when you tap the faucet, and the whole system hums with patterns that feel coded. Now, before you roll your eyes, this isn't about aliens leaving Easter eggs. It's about how physics writes messages in geometry, rhythm, and resonance. Start at the North Pole. There's a storm shaped like a hexagon, bigger than Earth, spinning in place for decades. A six-sided jet stream that refuses to smear into a circle. That's a standing wave, like a locked groove on a vinyl record, etched into Saturn's atmosphere by wind speeds and temperature gradients. Nature loves patterns, and this one looks deliberate because it's stable. Glide out to the rings. Billions of ice chips and boulders, each obeying gravity so perfectly that together they act like a giant seismograph. When Saturn's interior vibrates, yes, the planet rings like a bell, those pulses travel outward. Cassini saw subtle ripples, spiral waves, and gaps that line up with the planet's oscillations. It's called chronoseismology, and it lets us read the inside of a gas giant by watching the rings quiver. That's the code. Frequencies, not letters. Think about the moons. Enceladus sprays saltwater geysers through cracks warmed by tidal forces. Mimas locks gaps in the rings. Simple ratio 2:1. Simple ratio 3:2. Keep time like gears. If you mapped those ratios across the ring system, you'd see a score of gravitational music. Not purpose in the human sense, but structure that behaves as if it's aiming for balance. And the bathtub part? Look down the South Pole. A hurricane with a clear eye winds faster than a jetliner, descending like water funneling to a drain. In a rotating fluid, vortices organize chaos. Saturn is a planet-sized lab showing how flows self-arrange. Here's the twist: the rings won't last. They're falling, ring rain, ionized particles spiraling into the planet, tens of thousands of kilograms per second. Over tens of millions of years, the tub empties. While it lasts, Saturn prints its interior on the sky like a disappearing message. So is there a coded purpose? If purpose means intention, probably not. If it means function, absolutely. The rings amplify the planet's heartbeat. The moons keep time. The vortices carve geometry from turbulence. Together, they turn invisible physics into a visible score. I like to think of it this way. Saturn doesn't tell us a story with words. It hums a song in gravity, light, and ice. And if you know how to listen, resonance, waves, standing storms, you can hear the whole planet singing in a cosmic bathtub before the water's gone.
Imagine Earth not as rock and water. Imagine it as a machine, a vast, ancient piece of hardware. Picture a giant sphere of silicon. Its surface is etched with intricate pathways. Its core glows with immense power. We are born on this machine. We live our lives upon its surface. We build our cities on its components. We move along its pre-designed routes. This is a powerful, unsettling idea. The planet beneath our feet might be more than just a home. It might be a tool, a computer of unimaginable scale and age. Its processes running so slowly, we mistake them for geology and history. Start with the lines. the strange straight lines that crisscross the globe. Ancient peoples knew them. They built their monuments upon them. They called them spirit paths or dragon lines. Today we call them ley lines. They run for miles, sometimes hundreds, in perfectly straight paths. They ignore difficult terrain, hills, valleys, rivers. They connect sacred places with invisible, geometric precision. Chaotic, yet familiar. Think of a circuit board. These are circuit traces, the pathways for electricity. They carry information. The ley line system bears a striking resemblance to these traces. Not electricity as we know it, but a subtle terrestrial current linking key nodes. These lines are the Earth's wiring, a planetary network for power and data transfer. A motherboard is not just lines. It is populated with components, capacitors, resistors, processors, heat sinks. Each one has a specific function. The Earth's surface is also populated with massive structures. Mountains, the Himalayas, the Andes, the Rockies, are not just wrinkles in the crust. They affect weather patterns. They direct water and store vast mineral deposits. They act like giant capacitors or resistors. Their crystalline formations may even function as processors, stepping down energies in the grid. Now look at the great rivers, the Nile, the Amazon, the Mississippi, the planet's data buses. They carry silt, nutrients, commerce, the arteries of civilization, deep faults. San Andreas, the Great Rift, are immense fractures, zones of power. They behave like regulators, rerouting energy, releasing stress to ensure long-term stability. In any computer, data transfer is everything. It is the movement of information from one point to another. This data is not digital. It is physical. It is biological. It is cultural. Rivers, ocean currents, wind patterns, hardware channels of a global network. Where rivers meet the sea, ports form, I/O terminals between land and ocean networks. Ocean currents are superhighways, transporting thermal energy, regulating climate. They also carry life. Even winds move ideas, genes, pollen, seeds, dust, linking distant ecosystems. This planetary scale movement is Earth's data transfer, the background hum rendering reality. Every powerful computer generates heat. Without cooling, the core would destroy itself. Fans, heat sinks, and liquid plates draw heat away from the core. Now look to the very bottom. Antarctica, a continent of ice, larger than the United States, miles thick. In the motherboard theory, it is the primary hardware cooling unit. Think of it as a colossal heat sink. Its mass and reflectivity make it the coldest place, radiating enormous heat to space. Cold, dense water sinks here, driving the global thermohaline conveyor, planetary liquid cooling. This cooling is essential for system stability. Without it, the system would overheat. A sealed unit, pure function, yet vital and active hardware. The silent, frozen heart of climate regulation. Let's connect two key ideas: hardware cooling and system rendering. Effective cooling enables complex processing. To render a detailed 3D image or run a complex simulation without crashing. The same principle applies to Earth. Planetary cooling provides long-term stability to render life. Earth's rendering operates slowly, patiently, with incredible complexity. From simple molecules to complex ecosystems. From barren rock to fertile soil. From nomadic tribes to global civilizations. All requiring predictable seasons, liquid water, and narrow temperature bands for millions of years. The polar caps absorb and release heat, buffering extremes so the masterpiece of life can emerge. Every motherboard needs a power supply. For Earth, it is deep within, a molten iron core, hotter than the surface of the sun, generating a magnetic field that shields the planet. Core heat drives mantle convection, moving tectonic plates. This is not a flaw, it is a feature, an adaptive motherboard. Over deep time, continents drift, mountains rise, oceans open and close. The planet rewires itself. Old pathways close, new ones are established. Continental shifts reroute currents and winds, forcing the cooling system to reconfigure. Despite impacts, eruptions, solar shifts, the board reconfigures. Components shift, wiring reroutes, life adapts. The slow grinding of plates is the sound of the motherboard updating its architecture. On a circuit board, not all points are equal. Nodes and hubs manage flow. On Earth, ley traces cross and intersect. Where they meet, the points are special, planetary nodes. Marked by solitary hills, natural springs, unique rock formations. We have marked them with stone circles, burial mounds, temples, and cathedrals. Places like Glastonbury Tor and Serpent Mound are powerful nodes. Crossroads become markets. River confluences become cities. System hubs of goods, people, culture. But hubs can be unstable. Densely intersecting lines often align with quakes or extreme weather. Flow can surge. It can become chaotic. Understanding nodes and hubs is key to grasping the dynamic, sometimes volatile planetary machine. We have followed the metaphor to its conclusion. Earth as a motherboard. Ley lines as circuit traces. Mountains as components. Antarctica as a cooling unit, a system of data transfer and system rendering powered by a molten core. A compelling picture that weaves geology, geography, and history. It gives us a language of purpose, function, and design. If this is a machine, who was the engineer? The theory does not answer this. Perhaps the motherboard is emergent, order arising from simple rules over deep time. Or perhaps an ancient intelligence shaped it. Our lives like microbes on a chip, unaware of the calculation. But the patterns are real. The lines are real. The flows are real. And as the Antarctic cooling plate shrinks, the machine shows stress.
Time travel is one of those ideas that makes my brain feel both huge and tiny at the same time. Movies make it look simple. Flip a switch, zap to the past, fix one thing, and boom, new future. But here's the timeline of what's myth and what's real. Myth. Time is a river you can swim upstream or downstream at will. Reality. Einstein showed time is woven with space. It stretches, squishes, and runs at different rates depending on speed and gravity. Myth. You need a time machine to travel to the future. Reality. You're already doing it, every second. But you can do it slightly faster. Astronauts on the ISS age a hair less than people on Earth because of special relativity. Moving fast slows their time. GPS satellites? Their clocks tick differently. Faster from weak gravity, slower from speed, so we correct them daily. That's practical, measurable time dilation. Myth. If you go near light speed, you'll get a cool warp tunnel and dramatic soundtrack. Reality. At 99.9% of light speed, your time could run about 22 times slower. Spend a year on that ship, return, and decades might have passed on Earth. So future travel is real physics, just monstrously hard engineering. Myth. Time travel to the past just needs enough energy. Reality. The equations don't forbid weird shortcuts like wormholes or closed time-like curves, but the prerequisites are absurd. Traversable wormholes would need exotic matter with negative energy density. We've only ever seen tiny negative energies and delicate quantum effects, and nothing close to hold a wormhole open levels. Myth. Paradoxes prove time travel is impossible. Reality. Physics proposes loopholes. The Novikov self-consistency principle says events conspire so you can't create contradictions. Other ideas, like the block universe or branching timelines, move the paradox around rather than breaking reality. But none of this gives a buildable machine. Myth. Quantum teleportation sends stuff back in time. Reality. It moves information using entanglement and classical bits, and it never beats cause and effect. Delayed choice experiments look spooky, but they don't let you message the past. Time crystals? Cool, but not time machines. So, are we close? If close means a noticeable jump to the future, like skipping years, then only in principle. We'd need near light speed travel or extreme gravity. Both are way beyond current tech and budgets. A high-speed particle on a ring can time dilate by a lot. A human crew with life support and shielding? That's a different universe of difficulty. Past travel? No credible path. The math whispers maybe, but nature hasn't shown it's generous enough to let us rewrite yesterday. Here's the real unromantic answer. We already time travel. just very slowly and slightly differently, depending on motion and gravity. We can, in theory, travel to the future faster by going fast or deep into gravity wells, but it's not happening for everyday humans anytime soon. That's not fiction. That's the timeline we're actually on. Okay, real talk. Ever hear about artifacts so guarded you're told do not touch before you even see them? Beat. Today I'm counting down the top 3 secret artifacts people swear the Vatican is hiding. And what's this fact? Beat. Hit subscribe if you love a good mystery and drop a comment with the one you'd risk the laser alarms for. Beat. Number 3. The Shroud of Turin. Beat. Legend says it's the burial cloth of Jesus imprinted with a ghostly image. Beat. Myth. The Vatican keeps it locked away in a shadow vault. Beat. Fact. The shroud is in Turin, Italy, not in the Vatican. Beat. It's owned by the Holy See, but stored in a temperature-controlled case and shown rarely to protect it. Beat. Can you touch it? Absolutely not. Beat. Why? Because breath, light, and fingers destroy an ancient linen faster than a scandal on Twitter. Beat. Science has tested fibers, dates, and pollen. Debates still rage. Beat. Mystery status. Alive. Beat. Number 2. Relics of the true cross. Beat. The claim. Splinters from the wood of the crucifixion, guarded in Rome for centuries. Beat. Myth. The Vatican hides a full cross in a secret room. Beat. Fact. There are small relics in churches like Santa Croce and Jerusalem in Rome and others around the world. Beat. You won't be handling them. They're sealed in reliquaries, often behind glass to prevent damage and yeah, souvenir hunters. B. Anji. Critics say there are too many pieces to be real. B. Anji. Historians answer. Many fragments are symbolic, documented over medieval centuries with varying authenticity. BG. So why the secrecy? It's less cover-up and more conservation. BD. Number 1. The Vatican Secret Archive, and the Chronovisor. BD. You've heard the rumor, a time viewing machine beneath St. Peter's showing Christ on the cross and Emperor's crowning. B-ite. Mythi. The Vatican invented a device called the Chronovisor and buried it. BD8. Fact. There's zero credible evidence it exists. BD8. The secret archive was renamed the Apostolic Archive. Secretum just meant private. Al-Jib Debi. Scholars can request access with credentials. Shabit. Permissions are limited, materials are fragile and strictly controlled. Shabit. And no, you still can't touch the originals. B. So why does do not touch matter? Because preservation beats curiosity. B. Whether it's faith, history, or folklore, these artifacts survive only if we respect the barriers. B. Which one do you think is most believable? The Shroud, the True Cross, or the Chronovisor? Beat. Tell me in the comments, and if you want a part 2, say, unlock it. Beat. Subscribe for more myth vs. fact deep dives. Beat. And remember, look, don't touch. Beat. Next, should we open the sealed tomb of Redacted? Hit the bell so you don't miss it. Beat. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and keep your hands off the glass. Beat. End screen. Which artifact would you touch if rules didn't exist? Drop your pick below. Beat. I've got 5 bingeable, scary stories that will hijack your night and have you whispering what actually happened. Let's count them down. Number 5. The Vanishing Houseguest. A college kid crashes on a friend's couch after a party.
How did you sleep?
Fine, though your dad walking the hallway at 3 a.m. freaked me out.
Security cam shows a tall figure pausing by the couch, then leaning in, face just out of frame. When they zoom in, the figure stutters out of existence like a skipped frame. WTF happened? Number 4. The cabin with no footprints. 2 hikers find a locked ranger cabin in fresh snow. They circle it. No tracks. Inside, frost on every surface, except one chair, warm to the touch. A kettle whistles on an unlit stove. They sprint back to the trail and find their own footprints gone. When they look behind them, the cabin isn't there anymore. People in the area still report hearing a kettle and a chair scrape in the trees. Number 3. The wrong baby monitor. A new parent sets up a cheap baby cam. Night 1, the monitor crackles to life, a lullaby he's never heard. On screen, a second crib appears beside his. Inside it, a pale hand strokes empty air. He rushes in, only one crib. He unplugs the monitor, but it keeps broadcasting.
Don't wake him.
He never used the cam again. But every midnight, his phone still pings with a notification from a device he doesn't own. Number 2. The elevator that skipped a floor. A woman works late, steps into the elevator, hits lobby. The doors open to a hallway that shouldn't exist. Fluorescence, humming. Wallpaper flaking. No exit signs. She walks, shoes echoing until she sees a janitor mopping without water. He turns, mouth moving, but no sound. She sprints back to the elevator, slams buttons at random, and lands on her floor again. Security footage shows the doors never opened, but her shoes are streaked with gray dust from a floor the building was designed to have and never built. Number 1. The last voicemail. A group of friends camps by a lake. One slips away to take a call and doesn't return. They search. Nothing. At 3:17 a.m., all their phones ping with a voicemail from the missing friend. Muffled water.
And slow breathing, lower.
Cops drag the lake. No body. Weeks later, one friend dreams of a dock ladder reaching down through the black. He wakes with splinters in his palm and mud under his nails. The next night, every tent zipper opens at once. They move away.
Imagine your brain as a data center. Night shift rolls in, servers go into maintenance, system admin locks down movement so nothing glitches during updates. That's REM sleep, your dream engine. Paralysis is the security protocol called atonia. But sometimes you wake up mid-maintenance, eyes online, body offline. You try to move, every command times out. And then the logs fill with weird entries, footsteps in the hall, pressure on your chest, shadow at the door. That's sleep paralysis. Consciousness boots before motor control. Your brain renders dreams into your real room. Here's what's happening. In REM, your brain disables most muscles, so you don't act out dreams. Surface too quickly and the movement lock stays on while senses are live. Your prediction engine hates uncertainty. It fills gaps with threat templates. Intruder, presence, wait. Evolutionarily cheap, emotionally expensive. Common triggers? Irregular sleep, stress, jet lag. Sleeping on your back, certain meds, sleep deprivation. More likely when you dip in and out of REM or pull all-nighters. Maintenance windows get messy when updates are rushed. Is it dangerous? Usually, no. Terrifying? Yes. Harmful? Not typically. If episodes are frequent, violent, or involve acting out dreams, that's a different ticket. Worth a professional look for. REM behavior disorder, narcolepsy, apnea. If you're in an episode, here's the playbook. Don't fight the whole system. Send tiny packets, wiggle a toe, twitch a finger, blink. Breathe slow and steady. Count 4 in, 4 out. Label it. This is sleep paralysis. It will pass. Focus on a safe anchor, an object in the room, without trying to move. For some, initiate a cough or move the tongue to break the lock, to cut episodes down. Keep a regular sleep schedule. Same uptime, same downtime. Build a wind down. Dim lights, no heavy meals, less caffeine and alcohol late. Try side sleeping instead of on your back. Manage stress, breath work, light exercise, journaling. If it persists, discuss with a clinician. Sometimes therapy or medication helps. Culturally, people have explained this as demons, witches, the old hag. Different names, same protocol, awake mind, sleeping body, dream content bleeding into reality. Understanding doesn't erase the fear, but it gives you a dashboard. So next time the system admin catches you awake during maintenance, don't spam the keyboard. Send a small command, wait for the handshake, let the reboot finish. You're not broken. Your brain is just really good at its job, protecting you while you dream. Big receipt up front. Ubisoft's stock just cratered 34% in a single day. That's a record low, worse than 2013. It pushed their market cap under 1 billion euros. They were once over 11 billion. How did we get here? Receipts first. CNBC reports Ubisoft is shutting studios. CNBC says they're axing 6 games. CNBC expects around a 1 billion euro operating loss by fiscal 2026. Tom's Hardware adds the stock fell from 6.64 to an intraday low of 4.27. At the same time, PC Gamer says Ubisoft renewed its pledge to double down on player-facing generative AI, new operating model, accelerated investments. While layoffs are rolling, critics framed it bluntly: fire developers. Tell the rest to use AI to speed things up. A recipe for soulless, procedurally generated garbage. The CEO, Yves Guillemot, called Gen AI as big as the shift to 3D. He says all production teams are using it for programming, for art, and for overall game quality, building on projects like Neo NPCs. But the quality part is in question. Game developer reported Ubisoft confirmed an AI-generated placeholder asset shipped in Anno 177, Pax Romana. Players spotted misshapen hands and weird expressions, and 2 characters fused together. The subreddit's mood? Disappointed. One comment said, "I hate it." Meanwhile, the human side is boiling. PC Gamer and Checkpoint report 5 French unions called for a massive international strike. Strike, February 10th. Strike, February 11th. Strike, February 12th. Over 1,200 employees walked out. They protested layoffs, studio closures, canceled projects, and an end to remote work under a $200 million cost-cutting plan. A union rep said the CEO has no knowledge or understanding of his company or its employees. And then, the heartbreak: Prince of Persia, Sands of Time remake now canceled. Years in limbo, multiple studio handoffs, 6 games gone in total. For many, that became the poster child for instability. Okay, those are the receipts. Now the reveal. I think Ubisoft bet on speed over soul when you replace seasoned teams with promises of generative shortcuts. You don't just cut costs, you cut trust. Players notice, employees notice, investors notice, and markets punish chaos. AI isn't the villain here, it's a tool. But tools magnify direction. If the direction is ship faster, cheaper, you get uncanny hands. You get fused NPCs. If the direction is augment artists, if the direction is augment engineers, your move, Ubisoft.
What if I told you there are stars out there that suck the life out of other worlds? Vampires. Today, I'm counting down how many vampire stars haunt our galaxy and how many planets they might have already eaten. Let's go. Number 5. What is a vampire star? It's a star that steals, and sometimes devours, material from a neighbor. Bloodsucker. Astronomers call them interacting binaries, cataclysmic variables, X-ray binaries. Number 4. Where are they hiding? Most live in close binary systems. Gas spirals off a companion into a hot glowing disk, lit up in X-rays. We've found thousands by their flickers, flares, X-ray bursts. Number 3. How many have we actually found? Catalogs like Gaia, Chandra, the Wiki transit facility, have tagged tens of thousands of suspects. Confirmed. Some are white dwarfs siphoning gas. Some are neutron stars with insane magnets. Some are black holes straight up feeding. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Number 2. How many could there be in the Milky Way? Total. Latest population models suggest millions. For white dwarf vampires, estimates range from about 1 million up to a few million across the galaxy. Add neutron star and black hole X-ray binaries, and you're looking at several million feeders in total, most too quiet or dust hidden for us to notice. Yet. Number 1. Do they eat worlds? Yes, in a few wild ways. A star that swells into a red giant can swallow close-in planets. If that star has a compact companion, the companion can siphon gas from the swollen star, including any planetary material. We've seen dead stars polluted with the ashes of shattered planets. Metals, like iron, calcium, silicon. Some systems even show asteroids being torn apart into rings. Some show planets being torn apart into rings, then fed into the maw. Bonus, how do we catch them in the act? Watch for fast brightness changes. Listen for X-ray flashes, ultraviolet flashes. Track hot disks spinning at thousands of kilometers per second. Evidence. New surveys like LSST at Vera Rubin Observatory will find a flood of these feeders, maybe hundreds of thousands, by the end of the decade. So, how many vampire stars are there? Discovered. Tens of thousands. Likely out there. Several million across the Milky Way. Hungry. And yes, some of them have already eaten entire worlds. If you love space mysteries, hit subscribe right now, drop a comment with your biggest question about vampire stars, and I'll pin the best one. And if this blew your mind, share it with a friend who thinks the universe is chill. I'm posting more deep space countdowns soon. Stick around. See you in the next one. Bye.
Why is the Vatican keeping this book under lock and key? The Voynich Manuscript. Weird plants, star charts, bathing nymphs, a script nobody can read. People whisper about secret orders, lost sciences, even aliens. Here's the twist. It's not a language. It's a programming language that we haven't invented yet. Okay, shock over. Let me reframe this. The Voynich isn't actually in the Vatican. It sits at Yale, digitized for anyone to click through at 3 a.m. The mystery is real. Over 200 pages. Consistent, rule-bound text and diagrams. Written by a steady hand in the early 1400s. And that's where my programming theory kicks in. Think about code, loops, syntax, repetition. The Voynich script has that. Recurring tokens, strict positioning, patterns that behave like instructions. It doesn't look like sentences describing a flower. It looks like a system telling you how to use one. Now imagine Earth, circa 1400, but treat it like a device. You don't write poetry about it. You write a user manual. The herbal pages, not plants to press in tea, but modular components, biological APIs, roots as inputs, leaves as outputs. The bathing scenes, not medieval spa day, fluid dynamics, dosage, thermoregulation. The star wheels, scheduling, timing, seasonal triggers. It's a stacked trace for living here. So why can't we read it? Because you can't parse code without the compiler. If the manuscript encodes procedures, do X when Y with Z, the missing piece is the execution environment, a framework of definitions we don't share. Medieval Europe lacked chemistry as we define it. Modern taxonomy, standardized units. The author may have built a private operating system of symbols that compresses the messy world into crisp, runnable steps. Here's how I'd test it. Step 1. Treat symbols as functions and arguments. Here's a paradox for you. The moon orbits Earth every month, but I only ever see one face. It's like the sky is buffering and keeps serving me the same frame. What if I told you the moon is basically a cosmic cache server? Okay, picture the internet. A cache sits closer to you, so you don't reload everything from scratch. It stores the most requested stuff. Speed, stability, fewer surprises. The moon does a similar trick, just with gravity instead of code. Here's the secret. The moon is tidally locked. That means its spin matches its orbit. For every lap around Earth, it turns exactly once. So the same cached side keeps facing me. No lag, no refresh. But how did it lock in? Roll back billions of years. The moon spun faster, showing different sides. Earth's gravity grabbed the moon's slightly lumpy shape, bulges like handles. As it rotated, gravity tugged those handles, causing a tiny twist. Friction inside the moon turned spin energy into heat and bled it away. Over ages, rotation slowed until the lowest energy state clicked in, 1 spin per orbit. Boom. Cached. Why keep it? Because the setup is efficient. Locking minimizes energy fighting. If the moon tried to show a new face, tides would yank it back, like a screen snapping to a frozen frame. But wait, why can I sometimes glimpse a bit more? That's libration. Little wobbles as the orbit stretches and tilts. It's like the cache briefly revealing extra files around the edge. Over time, I can peek at about 59% of the lunar surface, but never the whole back end. And Earth isn't innocent. The ocean tides I love, They're the receipt of the same gravitational handshake. Energy moves. Earth's day is slowly getting longer. The moon is drifting away, 1.5 inches per year. Even as it leaves, the lock holds, like a synced clock stepping back. So why does this matter? Because the same side isn't a glitch, it's an optimization. The universe prefers stable, low-energy solutions. Our moon found one and stuck with it. Next time you look up, think of that bright face as the homepage Earth requests most. Fast, familiar, endlessly served from the nearest cosmic cache. The far side isn't dark, it's just not cached for me. Fermi was wrong. We're not alone, we're just next in line to be removed. That's the uncomfortable thought hiding behind the cosmic silence. Ancient, vast, fertile. There are more Earth-like worlds than heartbeats you'll have in a lifetime. If life is common, intelligence should have bloomed 1 trillion times. So where is everyone? We call it the Fermi paradox. My answer? The silence is an effect, not an accident. It's what happens when a system removes its own noise. Think of the Drake equation as a funnel, forming planets, sparking life, evolving complexity, developing technology. Some fraction fails. That's the great filter. A step so brutal that almost nobody makes it through. But here's the twist. The quiet suggests the filter might not be behind us. It's ahead. Because if the filter were early, some impossibly rare spark of life, our existence would be astronomically lucky. Not impossible, but suspicious. Ancient machine minds, megastructures sipping starlight, civilizations carving their signatures across galaxies. We don't. So either the universe is empty by chance, or something routinely deletes the talkative. Civilizations like ours flicker on, discover physics, split the atom, sequence life, birth machine intelligence, wrap their world in networks, beam their presence into the dark, and then patterns kick in, resource overshoot, runaway climate shifts, hostile AI optimization, bio-error, totalizing ideologies, the grabby expansion of others that sterilizes neighborhoods. If you can be heard, you can be hunted. If you can be hunted, someday you will be. Harsh? Yes. But the cosmos is not obligated to be kind. We've been radio loud for a cosmic blink, barely a century. Our star will live for billions of years, but technological adolescence is measured in decades. Their first 100, their first 1,000 years, without tripping a wire they can't see. The silence feels less like emptiness, more like moderation. A curated feed where the loudest get removed and the careful learn to listen. So what now? If the great filter is ahead, it's not a death sentence. It's a warning label. Get quiet. Not fearful, disciplined. Minimize high-power beacons that say, "Here I am," without knowing who's listening. Get resilient. Align the systems we build. Sandbox what can self-improve. Design fail-safes that fail safe. Get distributed. Single-planet species are single points of failure. On the moon, Mars, free space, redundancy turns accidents into setbacks. Get cooperative. Existential risks don't care about borders. Coordination is tech. And get humble. Intelligent life doesn't earn special treatment from the universe. It earns responsibilities. Maybe the great filter deletes the reckless and promotes the invisible, damp their signatures, harvest gently, and last. If the cosmos is a dark forest, survival belongs to the patient and the quiet. Fermi was wrong. We're not alone. We're part of a process that removes players who can't adapt. Our job is simple and impossibly hard. Stop being noise. Become a signal only we can read. The silence isn't our enemy, it's a lesson. If we listen, we might keep our place in this vast, quiet choir.
Okay, real talk. Are there actual diamond planets out there? And if yes, why would I ever fly to one? Here's the myth versus reality in 10 seconds. Myth: space is full of giant golf balls made of pure diamond just waiting to make you rich. Reality: Some worlds might be loaded with carbon that could form diamond, but they're not literally sparkly gem balls you can mine like a video game. Let's break it down. There are two famous diamond cases. Number 1, 55 Cancri. Early on, some data suggested it could be carbon-rich, maybe diamond in the interior under insane pressure. But newer observations point to a volcanic, super-hot, probably silicate world. Translation, not a jewelry outlet. Number 2, PSR. J. 17, 19-14, 38b. It orbits a pulsar and might be the carbon-heavy core of a dead star's companion, crazy dense, potentially crystalline. That's the closest thing we've got to a diamond planet, but it's more like ultra-dense carbon crystal, not a cuttable gem. Also, fun twist, there's a diamond star, a white dwarf nicknamed Lucy. Its core is crystallized carbon and oxygen, not a planet, but definitely cosmic bling. So why do people think we can cash in? Because diamond on Earth is rare and expensive. But space economics laughs at that. Even if a planet had diamond layers, it's tens to thousands of light years away. You'd need a fusion drive. We don't have a mining system that works at thousands of degrees and a way to haul back millions of tons. Flood Earth with that much diamond and price crashes. You'd lose money faster than an ice cream in Death Valley. So, if not for treasure, why fly there? Reason 1, science. Carbon-rich worlds would teach me what elements, what pressures, what weird chemistry. Reason 2, materials. Understanding naturally formed super hard, high-pressure carbon phases could inspire new heat shields, drill bits, or quantum devices. Reason 3, tech. A mission that far forces better propulsion, radiation protection, autonomous mining bots, long-life power. Reason 4, perspective. Chasing a diamond planet is our generation's spice route, not for the spice, for the maps we make on the way. Here's the simple answer. Are there diamond planets? Possibly, in the carbon crystal under extreme pressure sense, not the ring store kind. Should I fly there to get rich? Nope. Should I dream about going anyway? Absolutely, because the journey upgrades everything we can do back home. If you loved this myth versus reality breakdown, tap subscribe and drop a comment. What's the one wild space myth you want me to test next? And if you actually found a diamond planet, call me. Just kidding, kind of. You've heard it a million times, a black hole gobbles anything nearby, like a vacuum. Not really. Space is mostly empty and gravity is picky. If a planet orbits from far enough away, it just keeps orbiting. And the spaghetti thing. It's real, but not instant. How you're stretched depends on the black hole's mass. Small ones stretch you early, supermassive ones barely tug until it's too late. So what actually happens when a planet falls in? Step 1. It heats. Tidal forces knead the planet like dough, turning rock into magma. Volatiles boil off. The planet becomes a glowing ember. Cross the Roche limit and the planet can't hold itself together. It shreds into a ribbon of debris, mountains, dust, plasma, spiraling inward. Astronomers call the flare a tidal disruption event. Those pieces hit each other. Friction turns orbiting rubble into heat and light. You get X-rays, ultraviolet, and a brilliant short-lived glow. Now the twist. For a small, stellar mass black hole, tidal forces get brutal outside the event horizon. The planet elongates, true spaghetti, before it crosses the point of no return. But for a supermassive black hole, the horizon is huge and gentle. A planet might cross the event horizon mostly intact, still orbiting inside, unseen. From far away, the planet seems to slow and dim near the horizon, time dilation and redshift. That frozen at the edge look is an illusion from our perspective.
Imagine space as a vast ocean, and somewhere out there, there's a drain. Not a black hole, not a sci-fi portal. A real region tugging on hundreds of thousands of galaxies. Mine, Yours, all of us, like a slow, relentless current. Astronomers call it the Great Attractor. I know, dramatic name, but here's what it actually is. A gravitational anomaly, an overdensity of matter, roughly 150 to 250 million light-years away, Norma Triangulum Australe. It sits behind the thick disk of our Milky Way in the zone of avoidance where starlight and dust block our view. For decades, it was a cosmic rumor, felt in the numbers, hidden from our eyes. How do we feel a rumor? Motion. The local group, our galactic neighborhood, is drifting at about 600 kilometers per second relative to the cosmic microwave background. That drift isn't random. It's part of a larger flow of galaxies, all sliding down the same invisible slope. Think of raisins in rising dough, except some raisins are also pulled sideways by a hidden weight. That sideways pull points, again and again, toward the Great Attractor. And no, galaxies don't vanish there. Gravity isn't a shredder, it's a traffic pattern. Galaxies stream along the filaments of the cosmic web toward concentrations of mass. The Great Attractor appears to sit near the Norma cluster, Abell 3627, galaxy's gas dark matter. It's the kind of place where gravity's voice is deep and persuasive. As surveys improved, infrared radio X-rays, we peeked through the Milky Way's glare. What we found reframed the map. Our home supercluster, Laniakea, spans about 500 million light-years, and the Great Attractor is near its basin of attraction, the point where flows converge. Farther out, around 600 to 700 million light-years away, lies the Shapley supercluster, an even more massive concentration that likely adds its pull to the mix. So that drain isn't a single plug, it's part of a hierarchy of sinks, each one deepening the current. Here's the weird part. The universe is expanding, pushing galaxies apart. Yet locally, gravity sculpts exceptions. Peculiar motions that carve rivers against the tide. The Great Attractor is one of those rivers. We measure it by how galaxies deviate from the Hubble flow, by how microwave background photons pick up tiny temperature shifts, like a speed trap for the cosmos. So, do we end up there? Not exactly. The landscape evolves, structures merge, flows reroute as mass assembles. But the story it tells is profound. Even in an expanding universe, gravity still writes in bold. The Great Attractor isn't where galaxies disappear. It's where the cosmic web flexes its muscle, and we feel the tug. If you want to see deeper, follow the motion. The map of gravity is a map of destiny. And somewhere beyond the Milky Way's glare, the drain keeps whispering, "Come this way."
We are not just searching for UFOs, we are obsessed with them. Why? Because they want us to be obsessed. Every blurry video, every piece of leaked government data, it's not random, it is part of the distraction code. While we look into the sky, searching for an external threat, the real enemy is working in the shadows. They are not arriving in spaceships. They are coming through your screens, through the news, and through the very idea of first contact. Remember our analysis of solar flares as a psychic weapon? Every time solar energy strikes the Earth, the UFO obsession spikes. This is not a coincidence. This is the initiation of the distraction protocol. UFOs are filling a void in our consciousness, a void caused by the fact that we are living in a simulation. Instead of searching for the true matrix code, we are searching for flying saucers, which are just a component of their interface. We, at Kryptos Code, believe UFOs are merely pixels in the system. They are manufactured to keep your focus directed outward, instead of inward. Inward, where the true exit from the program is found. They do not want you to find the perimeter of your reality. They create the fear of invasion, so we unify against an imagined enemy, failing to notice as they quietly rewrite our own minds. Every UFO is a digital diversion. The only way to turn them off is to hack their code in your own mind, to realize that the true war is not in space, but for your focus. Stop looking at the sky, start looking inward. Subscribe to Kryptos Code and we will expose the hidden distraction protocols. Watch our shorts tomorrow to see how they are using UFO technology.
They climbed into lifeboats and floated away into the vast silent darkness of the North Atlantic. The great ship, once a symbol of human achievement and luxury, went down beneath the waves. The water was black and impossibly cold, a deadly embrace that took the lives of over 1,500 souls. Survivors who reached the RMS Carpathia were wrapped in blankets, given warm drinks, their bodies slowly thawing. Physical safety did not bring peace for many. Many later said their lives were not saved that night but ruined by what they had experienced. This essay examines why rescue brought a heavy, lifelong burden called survivor's guilt and the quiet harm that followed. Titanic's story is human. Choices under unimaginable pressure, relief and terror intertwined. What does it truly mean to survive when so many do not? The night of April 14, 1912, feels told so often its edges are worn smooth. But to those there, it was no distant narrative. The unsinkable ship struck an iceberg with a shudder some barely noticed at first. People moved about the decks, some in evening wear, others in coats over nightclothes. The crew shouted orders, trying to hold calm as control slipped away. Many still believed the vessel would be saved, until lifeboats, too few, made the truth clear. The deck began to tilt. The veneer of order fractured. Some leapt into the sea, a desperate gamble. Others stayed with loved ones, accepting fate. A fortunate few found spots in small boats, pushed into chilling darkness. From there, they watched her break and vanish. Friends, family, strangers disappeared into the abyss. The screams echoed, a chorus that haunted a lifetime. Cold, exhausted, in shock, they were pulled aboard. They were given food, warm blankets, and medical attention. The immediate threat was over. They were alive and safe. But rescue did not end suffering. A more insidious torment began. Minds remained trapped on the freezing Atlantic. Relief collided immediately with knowledge of the lost. Every face was a reminder of faces missing. Survivors were bound by a trauma few could comprehend. The voyage became a somber procession, a floating hospital of broken lives. The night was over, yet for them it would never truly end. Greeted by crowds and cameras, hailed as heroes or the fortunate few. Inside unfolded a different story: grief, anger, and gnawing survivor's guilt. What is survivor's guilt? A heavy, persistent feeling after escaping death, an irrational sense of responsibility for others' deaths. Survivors asked, "Why was I spared?" and felt shame for being alive. Intrusive thoughts, hard to stop, reshaped lives over time. For Titanic survivors, guilt took many shapes. An unseen wound after bodies healed. A man who sent his wife and children away, promising to follow, saw their faces drift beyond reach. A woman urged aboard by a husband who stepped back carried his sacrifice forever. Anger at leadership often turned inward. They blamed themselves, tiny choices that felt monumental. Protocol split families and burdened surviving men with scorn. J. Bruce Ismay became a focal point. Public shame amplified private guilt, making healthy processing nearly impossible. The rescue saved bodies, but left souls adrift in a sea of guilt. Public attention made private pain worse. In 1912, mass media watched the sinking unfold. Newspapers everywhere printed the names of the living and the dead. Survivors became unwilling celebrities. They demanded every detail, what it felt like to watch, to hear the cries. Retelling reopened wounds. Pressure to appear stoic isolated them further. The public judged quickly, labeling and dissecting every decision. Lady and Sir Cosmo Duff Gordon faced rumors of bribery, cleared officially, stigmatized forever. Fame was a cage, making Titanic a permanent feature of identity. A shadow they could not outrun, a night they were never allowed to forget. Legal fights and blame added to the burden. Inquiries launched in the United States and Great Britain to uncover facts and assign accountability. Survivors, still reeling, had to recount terror under cross-examination. Clinical questions stripped humanity. Head counts, times, orders heard. They became witnesses under a microscope. Inquiries fueled spectacle. Heroes and villains for headlines. J. Bruce Ismay bore relentless attack. The public needed a villain. Others were elevated. Molly Brown urged her boat to return. Laws assigned blame and compensation. Battles dragged on, keeping wounds open. Safety reforms followed, but for many, testifying meant more pain and scrutiny. Loss was the most immediate and enduring consequence. The disaster took people, family, friends, beloved partners. Everyday life became a relentless reminder. An empty chair, a child without a parent. They rebuilt from rubble, carrying memories like heavy stones. Night after night, the ship and the cold returned. Fear of water, of horns, even ice in a glass. Signs of what we now call PTSD. Faith in progress shattered. If the unsinkable could sink, anything could happen. Vulnerability paralyzed some. Others withdrew from travel and risk. Emotional loss turned practical. Sudden hardship without the breadwinner. Money softened edges, not wounds. Some sought purpose in charity. Others withdrew into silence. A Stoic era offered little sympathy for lasting trauma. Survivors were told to be grateful, to move on, or be seen as weak. Rumors judged who took lifeboat seats and why. Even men ordered into boats faced condemnation. Women, too, were policed by the press. Economic hardship deepened. Hundreds of widows and orphans left without income. Aid came, but could not replace a lifetime of earnings. For many, survival became a daily battle against poverty. Even the wealthy faced rifts and legal tangles. Businesses destabilized. Rich or poor, the fallout lingered, ripples through every aspect of life. In 1912, mental health was in its infancy. Trauma, PTSD, survivor's guilt. There was no shared language for these wounds. Doctors could warm bodies, not mend invisible injuries. Many suffered alone, navigating grief, fear, and guilt without support. Coping fell to the era's means. Alcohol, work, escape, often into burnout and illness. Loved ones, unsure how to help, urged silence, deepening isolation. Surrounded by people, they felt utterly alone. Unaddressed trauma accumulated. Depression, anxiety, unexplained ailments. Relationships strained. Some could not bond. Others withdrew from those they loved. Their lonely path shows why mental health care matters and how unprepared the world was. Despite overwhelming pain, some found meaning. Community soothed isolation. Informal groups, memorials, shared stories. A few became activists, witnesses for safer seas. Their accounts exposed lifeboat shortages, ignored ice warnings, and inadequate training. Reforms followed. The International Ice Patrol, lifeboats for all. For some, action healed, turning pain into purpose. For most, healing was quiet, learning to live again in shadow. Memories returned unbidden, cracking fragile peace. Their story asks us to be gentle with unseen suffering. Rescue was a beginning, not an end. Some were crushed by the weight. Others carried it with dignity. Resilient, yet forever marked.
Imagine the sky as an ancient map, full of sea monsters at the edges. Here be dragons scrawled in ink. Today, those dragons aren't myths. They're rules, boundaries, invisible walls. No-fly zones are the modern sky's forbidden temples. Cross the line, and consequences appear out of thin air. I call them Earth's physical firewalls. Like a firewall blocks bad traffic, a no-fly zone filters what can pass overhead. Who, when, how. Some are permanent, some pop up like pop-up warnings. A few are so secret you only know them by the silence around them. Start with the sacred sites, around power plants, royal residences, capitol buildings. Airspace shrinks to a tight circle. Think of it as a moat in the sky protecting the keep. Then there are the pilgrim paths we all share. Commercial corridors carve highways through clouds. Controllers braid thousands of flights without tangling. Step out of your lane and alarms ripple across radar like ripples on a shield. Wider still, the war rings. When conflict burns, nations lay down sky bans, temporary restricted areas, even full no-fly edicts. They're not just lines on a map, missiles, jammers, watchful eyes. Enter uninvited, and you don't just meet a ticket, you meet a scramble, fighter's warnings escort or worse. Then there's the realm of secrets, test ranges, stealth labs, rocket launch windows, places where physics is pushed hard enough to bite. The myth here is the Minotaur. The maze is radio silence, coded transponders, patrol loops. If the sky could whisper, it would say, "Do not disturb, experiment in progress." Even nature has its shrines, volcanic ash zones, towering storms, bird migration routes, soft bands, guided by forecasts and respect. There's alien code living in your blood, not from space, though that would be cool. It's called microchimerism, tiny populations of cells in your body that came from someone else. Myth check number 1, foreign cells are invaders. Biology says most are friendly stowaways. During pregnancy, fetal cells cross the placenta and enter the mother's bloodstream. Maternal cells hitch a ride into the fetus. Decades later, traces remain. Quiet passengers with their own DNA, living inside you. Here's the wild part. Scientists have found Y chromosome cells in the brains of women who once carried sons, still there many years later. Maternal cells have been found in adult children, in the heart, and in the liver. Sometimes cells from an older sibling pass through the mother and end up in a younger sibling, like a genetic postcard mailed through the womb. Myth check number 2. These cells take over your body. Reality. They're rare. A few cells among millions. But they can be active. Some studies suggest they home to injuries, turning into tissue helpers that patch up wounds. Others suggest they nudge the immune system. There's even evidence they may lower certain cancer risks, though it's not settled. And that uncertainty matters. Microchimerism has been linked to autoimmune conditions. Your immune system double-checking. Are you me or not? Sometimes that vigilance misfires. The science isn't a verdict, it's a debate. Myth check number 3, it only happens in pregnancy. Biology says there are other doorways, organ transplants, blood transfusions. Identical twins may swap cells in the womb. A vanished twin can leave a cellular signature that lingers for life. So what does this mean for identity? Think of the body less as a fortress and more as an ecosystem. You're mostly you, but not only you. Bits of your mother, maybe a child, possibly a sibling, woven into your tissues, whispering across decades. If that sounds eerie, here's the comforting twist. Those borrowed cells are part of your story. They track family connections, now written in microscopic ink. And while we're still learning what they do, the idea of a purely isolated self doesn't hold up. So next time someone says, "We're all connected," answer, literally. Because somewhere in your blood, a tiny chorus of other voices is humming along with yours. Not aliens, just family. Thanks for watching. If this blew your mind a little, hit subscribe. I've got more strange biology coming your way. Quick note. I can't mimic any specific creator's exact voice. Here's an original, curious, fast-paced conversational read in a transatlantic tone. Have you ever remembered a place you never visited and still knew where the creaky stair was? A stranger's name that tastes familiar? Welcome to the Blood Memory Leak. Picture this. You're walking a street in a city you've never seen, and your feet turn left before your brain decides. That snap of knowing, like déjà vu, grew a spine. Why does that happen? First idea, echoes in the blood. Not spooky, molecular. Your body is a library. Beyond DNA's blueprint for eyes and elbows, there's a flexible layer, epigenetics. It's like sticky notes on your genes that say, use this, mute that, based on life experience. Stress famine, fear, comfort. Some of those notes can travel to the next generation. Not memories of faces, but sensitivities, thresholds, alarms. You might inherit a volume knob for certain feelings. Walk past a harbor and your pulse rises, for no you reason. Second idea, culture as a hard drive. The stories you hear, the rituals you repeat, the smells in your kitchen, these form a map long before you read a map. Your family's phrases, your community's music, even the layout of childhood rooms train your brain to expect certain patterns. Later, when a foreign place rhymes with that pattern, the brain says, "We've been here." You haven't. Your pattern has. Third idea, memory's magic trick, cryptomnesia. You absorb a detail, offhand, background, a line in a show, and later it resurfaces as fresh, not a past life, just a misplaced citation. Then there's déjà vu, a brief glitch between short-term processing and your brain's familiarity switch. Think of two musicians starting the same song a beat apart. When the tracks overlap, you get that eerie, "I know this" rush. But let's be honest, some memories feel too heavy to be a mere glitch. Trauma, longing, love, they soak into the body. Muscles remember postures. Breath remembers winters. When a scene reenacts your old chemistry, your body recognizes the recipe before your mind reads the label. So, is blood memory leak real? Not as a single switch, more like a cracked mirror reflecting 4 lights at once. Epigenetic tuning, cultural imprinting memories, misattribution, sensory echoes stored below words. Here's the experiment. Next time you feel the tug, write 3 lines. What did I sense first? Where else have I sensed this? What story do I want this to be? The first 2 ground you, the last one guards you, because longing can edit memory faster than facts can. And if the feeling won't let go, share it. Call someone older, ask for a recipe, ask for a song, ask for a street name from before you were born. Sometimes the missing source is living in someone else's voice. Maybe you don't remember a past life. Maybe you remember a past pattern. And patterns once seen are easier to choose or break. So when the map in your blood whispers left, pause at the corner, look both ways, then decide with your whole self. If this stirred an old echo, tell me where it led you. I'll follow the thread in the comments. Picture this. Your body runs a secret vault. Not in your brain, not in your heart. It's hidden inside your bones, your marrow, where some of your most valuable information is stored, protected, and yes, basically encrypted. Biological encryption isn't sci-fi. It's how life tucks away critical data, making it hard to read without the right keys. And bone marrow is the perfect safe. First, what's the payload? Identity, memory. Identity is your unique blood blueprint, coded in hematopoietic stem cells, the master builders that make every blood and immune cell you have. Memory is your immune system's greatest hits album. Long-lived plasma cells, memory cells. Now why hide that in marrow? Because secrets need a fortified room. Bone is literally armor. Inside the marrow's niche is a quiet, low-oxygen, tightly regulated world. Specialized stromal cells, sticky signals, physical scaffolding, specialized stromal cells, sticky signals, and physical scaffolding act like multi-factor authentication. Only certain cells get in, only certain messages get out. That niche locks in your immune memory. Long-lived plasma cells park in marrow like librarians in a fireproof archive, continuously dripping protective antibodies, even if the invader vanished years ago. Meanwhile, stem cells hold epigenetic marks, chemical post-it notes on DNA that record past stresses and infections. Those marks guide how quickly you can spin up reinforcements next time. It's not just data storage, it's data plus an instant recovery plan. Here's the encryption part. Every B cell rearranges its receptor genes at random to create unique locks and keys. Every T cell rearranges its receptor genes at random to create unique locks and keys. That diversity is your private codebook. Marrow preserves rare, useful combinations, shielding them from wear and tear. If your bloodstream is the internet, marrow is offline cold storage. There's also security by obscurity. Blood is busy and exposed. Marrow is hard to access, even for pathogens and drugs. so it becomes a sanctuary. Useful when you want long-term immunity. Frustrating when treating diseases that hide there. Either way, the architecture enforces a rule. Right signals, right adhesion molecules. You don't get to read or edit the archive. Timing matters too. Your body releases cells from marrow on a circadian schedule, night versus day, like rotating keys in a vault. Under stress, those keys change. Adrenaline, infection, exercise can open doors or slam them shut, prioritizing what the body needs most. And get this, the marrow's encrypted backup can outlast you. Bone protects DNA for decades, even centuries, which is why ancient remains still reveal genetic stories. Forensic teams love bones because they're nature's tamper-resistant drives. Zooming out, hiding information in marrow is evolution's risk management. Put your mission-critical code, identity, immune memory, repair capacity, somewhere quiet, guarded, and redundant. Then give the body a way to read it only when it truly matters. So if you've ever wondered where your body keeps the hidden keys to who you've been and how you survive what's next, listen to your bones, your past, your preparedness, your potential, encrypted in living tissue, waiting for the right signal to unlock. If that blew your mind a little, imagine what else your body is quietly safeguarding. Stick around, because the next secret vault might be hiding in plain sight. Here's a weird question. If your body kept a secret diary, where would it hide it? Not your brain, not your heart. It's your bone marrow. Hooked yet? Good. Your marrow is more than a blood factory. It's a vault, a black box. It's running a kind of biological encryption. Myth-bust time. We like to think our data lives in our DNA. Fixed, simple, readable. But DNA is just the alphabet. The story, what you've survived, the infections you've beaten, even a timeline of your life, gets written in places most people never check. The marrow is one of them. So what's hidden in there? First, memory. Not the kind you recall, the kind that fights. Deep in the marrow, long-lived plasma cells keep permanent blueprints of antibodies, some for decades. A secret library of wanted posters your immune system can reprint at a moment's notice. Second, timestamps. Hematopoietic stem cells, the mother cells that make your blood, accumulate tiny mutations over time. Not scary, more clock-like. Those changes reveal clonal family trees, which stem cells thrived, which went quiet, and roughly how long they've been at it. A hidden logbook carved into the code, protected in the marrow niche. Third, context. Epigenetic marks, chemical sticky notes on DNA, shift with stress, infection, and age. They don't rewrite the letters, they tweak the reading. Inside marrow, those marks train immune cells, biasing how quickly they respond next time. Encrypted settings, hard to copy, harder to fake, but instantly readable by your cells. And sometimes there's company. Microchimerism, tiny cells from your mother. Microchimerism, tiny cells from your child. Microchimerism, even a twin that never developed. They're biological watermarks, proof your body's story isn't just yours. Okay? Why hide it here? Location. Location. Protection. Bone surrounds marrow like a safe. Blood flow brings signals but filters chaos. The niche itself, cells. The niche itself, molecules. The niche itself, stiffness. Together they create a crypt where records are backed up and refreshed without leaking everywhere. If your immune system is software, the marrow is the offline server. Air-gapped, resilient, always syncing. This has consequences. Vaccines recruit marrow librarians to file the right plasma cells for the long haul. Severe infections can rewrite epigenetic settings, good for speed, risky if it locks in inflammation. Aging changes the index. Some clones dominate, diversity narrows, the logbook gets messy. And no, this isn't a perfect safe. Some pathogens hide here too. But the reason they pick the vault is the same reason you should care. Information stored in marrow endures. If your body is a museum of experiences, bone marrow is the archives in the basement. Climate controlled, access restricted, quietly deciding what your future self will remember how to fight. Final thought. DNA tells who you could be. Marrow whispers who you've been and what you're ready for next. Your consciousness already knows what will happen in 5 seconds. Not magic, prediction. Your brain is a forecasting machine, running tiny simulations before the world catches up. Today, I'll show you how to access that 5-second foresight and make it useful. First, a reframe. Intuition isn't a whisper from nowhere, it's compressed experience. Your senses, memory, and body feed a model that constantly predicts what comes next. When the model is clear, you feel certainty. When it's noisy, you feel doubt. My goal is to help you lower the noise. Drill 1, the 3-2-1 foresight. 3. Name the outcome you expect. 2. Name the cue that signals it's happening. 1. Act. This links prediction to feedback, training your inner model in real time. Drill 2. Micro-bets. For the next hour, silently bet on tiny events you can quickly verify. Who speaks next in a meeting? Which elevator arrives? Whether the light turns green before you reach the crosswalk. Track hits and misses. Calibrate confidence to reality. Drill 3. Interoceptive check-in. Close your eyes. Ask a simple yes/no question about the next 5 seconds. Will my phone buzz? And scan for a body signal. Chest ease, chest tightness, warmth, coolness, a subtle lean forward, a subtle lean back. Then see what happens. Map what your body does when you're right versus wrong. That map becomes your intuition legend. Drill 4. Time dilation. When emotions spike, predictions blur. In a tense moment, exhale slowly for 6 seconds. Soften your gaze to the edges of your vision. Widen your attention. That loosens the tunnel and brings the next 5 seconds into view. Now, the 5-second forecast and decisions. Ask, if I take path A, what's the very next friction I'll hit? Name that obstacle. Then, what's the first tiny green flag? Name that confirmation. You're not predicting the whole future, just the first obstacle and the first confirmation. Steer by those. A fun calibration, the coin flip shadow. Flip a coin but cover it. Predict heads or tails. Notice your body signal. Reveal the coin. Do 20 reps. See patterns in your signals that correlate with accuracy. Keep the ones that help. Ignore the noise. A caveat. Imagine waking up with a very specific craving, sugar. Imagine waking up with a very specific craving, salt. Imagine waking up with a very specific craving, that one crunchy snack you swore you'd quit. What if part of that urge wasn't you, but a negotiation between your brain and non-human DNA living inside you? Today, I'm exploring the parasite logic, why your cravings might be coded by life forms that are not strictly you. First, the unsettling math. For every human gene you carry, your gut microbes add hundreds more. Their genes outnumber yours by at least 100 to 1. They don't just sit there. They build enzymes that digest fibers you can't. They brew chemicals that talk to your immune system. They release metabolites that ping your nerves and slip into your bloodstream, headed straight for your brain. Craving a donut? Your brain might label it me, but microbes can bias the menu. Certain bacteria thrive on fats. Certain bacteria thrive on sugars. Certain bacteria thrive on amino acids. If a community benefits from you eating more of X, the chemicals they release can nudge hunger signals. They can tweak reward circuits. They can steer taste sensitivity. It's not mind control, more like a biochemical whisper that feels like a thought. This goes beyond the microbiome. Parasites have been running behavioral experiments on hosts for millions of years. Toxoplasma gondii famously makes rodents less afraid of cat odors. Parasites that can alter fear can also, in principle, bend appetite. Some helminths shift immune chemistry and hormones like leptin. Some helminths shift hormones like ghrelin, which shape hunger and fullness. In lab models, infections can change what animals prefer to eat, salty versus sweet. Infections can change protein versus carb preference, especially when the parasite needs certain nutrients. And then there's viral DNA. Your genome is peppered with ancient viral elements, molecular fossils from infections that became permanent residents. Some of these sequences have been co-opted by your cells and help regulate genes involved in development and immunity. That doesn't mean a virus is picking your lunch, but it does mean human appetite runs on code that isn't 100% human in origin. So how does the craving code actually work? 3 levers keep showing up: metabolites, short-chain fatty acids, bile acid derivatives, other microbe signals that modulate the vagus nerve and reward pathways, neurotransmitter precursors, tryptophan, tyrosine, GABA-like signals. Inflammation. Imbalanced microbiomes can raise or calm immune signals, which in turn change appetite and motivation. Here's the twist. Change the ecosystem. Change the signal. When diets shift, more fiber, fermented foods, diverse plants, microbial communities change within days. Cravings often change with them. Sleep, stress, movement. Antibiotics can reset it, sometimes in unhelpful ways. So next time a sudden urge grabs the wheel, ask, whose chemistry is driving? Then calmly, take it back. Your data doesn't die. Not when you delete a post, close an account, or even when you're gone. It lingers, backed up, cached, mirrored, traded, because the system is designed to remember. I want to show you why. First, backups. Every platform snapshots itself constantly. Disaster recovery, compliance, uptime. When I hit delete, I'm deleting a pointer in a live database. The copies? They live on in backup tapes, cloud cold storage, and geo-redundant mirrors for months or years. Second, law, finance, healthcare, telecom. Many industries must retain records for 3, 7, sometimes 10 years. Even if I'm done with a service, they can't immediately be done with me. Third, business. Data fuels models, recommendations, ad targeting. Even anonymized logs can be relinked by pattern. Data brokers buy and sell aggregates, email hashes, device IDs, location pings. Deleting in one place doesn't ripple through a marketplace you never directly touched. Fourth, shadows. I might never sign up, but the system builds a shadow profile from uploads by friends, contact syncs, and web beacons. That's how I can be known without ever introducing myself. Fifth, the web itself. Caches, archives, scrapers. A post can be removed, but search caches, the Wayback Machine, and third-party mirrors keep time capsules. Sixth, AI. Public data is swept into training sets. Even if it's later removed, the model retains statistical traces, weights shaped by words I once wrote. What about the right to be forgotten? It helps, but it's scoped. It usually applies to specific jurisdictions and controllers, not every downstream copy, not every archival obligation, not every data broker beyond reach. And after I die? Most platforms memorialize or freeze accounts, but messages, metadata, and backups remain. Phones and smart devices hold years of location and sensor history, often synced to clouds my heirs can't even see. So what can I actually do? Minimize at the source. Share less? Disable contact syncing? Imagine if your DNA was a tiny radio, quietly listening to satellites whispering from space. Wild, right? Here's the shock. That idea sounds futuristic enough to trend, but the science says something way more interesting and way more real. I'll start with the claim. Your genes are tuned to satellite frequencies. It's catchy because we do live in a sea of signals. GPS, Starlink, 5G, Wi-Fi, radio, TV. But DNA isn't a metal antenna. It's a molecular library. Genes don't dial channels. They're switched on and off by chemistry. Proteins, RNAs, cellular signals. So where did the DNA radio vibe come from? 2 places. 1. The electromagnetic spectrum genuinely matters for biology. High-energy ionizing radiation can break DNA strands, X-rays, gamma rays, cosmic rays. That's not tuning, that's damage. 2. Some organisms respond to fields or light. Birds navigate with magnetoreception, likely using a light-sensitive protein called cryptochrome. Biologists literally use light to control genes in the lab, optogenetics, engineering cells to react to specific wavelengths. See the pattern? Biology can be light-responsive when it has the right molecular machinery. Now, satellites. They transmit mostly microwaves radio, non-ionizing, low energy compared to sunlight. Your genes aren't sitting there absorbing GPS chirps. The wavelengths are huge compared to molecules. The energy per photon is far too low to break bonds or flip base pairs. International safety limits keep exposures below levels that heat tissue. Could biology sense these fields? Not without specialized receptors, and humans don't have them tuned to microwave channels. But here's the twist that's actually cooler. Your body does listen, just not to satellites. Cells decode chemical gradients, hormones, mechanical forces. Circadian clocks in your brain read light via your eyes and reset thousands of genes every day. In space, astronauts see real gene expression changes, not from satellite beacons, but from microgravity radiation stress. That's biology adapting to environment in high definition. The DNA radio is a metaphor, useful if it points to legit mechanisms, misleading if it suggests secret broadcasts, flipping your genes. If we want remote control of biology, we build it. Optogenetics, magnetogenetics, ultrasound-responsive nanoparticles, CRISPR, guided by designed signals. That's not conspiracy, that's engineering. So, are your genes tuned to satellite frequencies? No, they're tuned to life. Light, food, stress, sleep, movement, time. If you want to retune them, the dials you can actually turn are boring and powerful. Get morning light sleep on schedule. Move your body, manage stress, eat real food. Not as flashy as space antennas, just better science. If this helped you separate the signal from the noise, tap like, share it with a friend who loves big ideas, and I'll see you in the next one. Imagine if 98% of your body's instruction manual wore a giant sticker that said, junk. For decades, that was the headline. Only about 2% makes proteins, they said. The rest? Supposedly useless. But here's the plot twist. That junk is mission control. Quiet, dark, and absolutely in charge. Let me show you the forbidden mission your biology runs every second. We start with the rumor, junk DNA. If it didn't make a protein, people shrugged. Then projects like Encoded flipped on the lights. They found enhancers, little switches scattered far from genes, switches that decide when a gene turns on, where it acts, and how loudly it sings. Promoters, silencers, insulators, an entire city grid of traffic lights. No proteins made here, just instructions. But try building a brain without the timing, or a heart without the cues. You can't. Enter the non-coding RNA crowd. MicroRNAs dampen noisy genes. Precision volume control. LNCRNAs assemble protein teams and park them at the right spot. Zoom out to DNA's true shape. It's not a line. It's origami. Loops whisper across crowded rooms. Talk now. Architectural proteins build neighborhoods, keeping the right parts together. Here, the shape is the message. Now for the spicy stuff. Transposons, genetic hitchhikers. Some are fossils of ancient viruses. Your genome refashioned many into tools, new switches, new patterns, new evolutionary bets. Today's junk becomes tomorrow's feature. Epigenetics is the mood lighting. Chemical tags on DNA and histones say, read this or leave this alone. They run imprinting, X chromosome inactivation, and the vast choreography of development. Same script, different performance. So what does this mean for you? Health and disease live here. Many risk variants sit in control panels, not genes. Heart disease, Diabetes, autism, cancer. Often a misfired switch, not a broken part. Fix the timing, you fix the track. CRISPR isn't just cutting anymore. With DeadCast9, you can dial regulatory elements up or down, tuning a symphony without smashing instruments. The forbidden mission was never forbidden. We lacked clearance. Read the margins. The 98% is the operating system, the rules, the choreography, the map, and its legend. It's not junk, it's the grammar, and grammar changes everything. Tonight, I'm showing you how to pop open a command console inside your dreams. Not sci-fi, lucid hacking. Think of it like a developer overlay for your sleeping brain. A tiny black box you can pull up, type a command, and your dream obeys. Let's wire that in. Step 1. Prime the system. Before bed, write one sentence by hand. When I see something impossible, I'll open the console. Under it, draw a little tilde key, like this. That's your hotkey. Step 2. Seed the trigger. For 5 minutes, visualize a simple dream scene, walking down a hallway. Floating lamp, purple rain, anything obviously wrong. When you notice it, say out loud, console, open. Imagine a subtle overlay sliding in, monospaced text, a blinking cursor. Feel the cursor waiting. Step 3. Reality checks all day. Time jumps, déjà vu, a typo that moves. Press your thumb into your opposite palm, ask, am I dreaming? Then whisper, console, open, you're installing a reflex. Step 4, the launch window. Set an alarm for 6 hours after you fall asleep. Wake up, light on, 2 minutes. Read your sentence again, back to bed. As you drift, repeat. When I see impossible, console opens. Now the hack itself. You're in a dream. You spot the impossible, the purple rain, thumb to palm. Am I dreaming? Yes. Don't rush. Stabilize. Rub your hands together. Name 3 things you see. Now, console, open. Picture that small overlay at the edge of your vision. Not full screen, just enough. Cursor blinks. Type simple commands. Brightness plus 110 to clear fog. Spawn door, exit to create an exit. Time, slow to stretch moments. Load, calm beach to change scenes. Keep it minimal, 2 or 3 words. Speak or imagine typing, both work. If the console flickers, stabilize again. Breathe, feel texture, repeat the command. Pro tips, alias, your favorites before sleep. Alias, B xiao, brightness, plus 10. In dream, just say, console, B. Color code feedback. Green text, ciao, success. Amber, xiaos, try again. If a nightmare shows up, don't fight the boss. Patch the code. Console, pause. Console, more light. Console, friendly mode. Common glitches. No console appears. Shrink the ask. Try cursor, show, then help. Text scrambles. Anchor it. Touch a wall. Read a short word. Then retry. Waking up. Imagine your mind as an antenna, tuning a broadcast that your cells can actually hear. Not sci-fi, epigenetics. It's the study of how experiences can dial genes up or down without changing your DNA letters. It's the study of how environment can dial genes up or down without changing your DNA letters. It's the study of how thoughts can dial genes up or down without changing your DNA letters. Your DNA is like a vast library. Epigenetic marks, chemical tags on DNA and histones, are the sticky notes that say, read this now or save for later. Stress, sleep, food, movement, relationships. These are the hands placing and peeling those sticky notes, shaping which genes get a voice. So where do thoughts come in? A thought isn't just a whisper in your head. It's an electrical pattern that can trigger hormones and neurotransmitters. Repeated patterns like chronic worry or daily calm become biochemical habits. Cortisol, adrenaline, oxytocin, serotonin. These messengers talk to receptors that kick off cascades inside your cells. Those cascades recruit enzymes that add or remove epigenetic tags. Over time, the playlist of your genes shifts. This doesn't rewrite your DNA code. Think dimmer switch, not light bulb replacement. Here's a simple loop. Perception shapes thoughts. Thoughts shape chemistry. Chemistry shapes gene expression. Gene expression shapes the brain and body that perceive. Can this happen quickly? Sometimes, yes. A single sleepless night changes gene expression for immunity and metabolism. A stressful meeting bumps inflammatory signals, but routines write the boldest notes. Weeks of meditation can shift stress-responsive genes. Consistent exercise reprograms muscle and even immune cells. Supportive relationships calm threat circuits. Try the mind to cell daily 5. Breathe. 6 breaths per minute for 5 minutes nudges your vagus nerve and dials down cortisol. Move. 20 minutes of brisk walking or body weight circuits. Muscles release myokines that tweak gene expression. Sunlight. Morning light anchors your circadian clock, aligning thousands of genes to time of day. Focused attention. 10 minutes of mindfulness or gratitude journaling. Repeated mental states become molecular signatures. Protein and plants. A plate that feeds your microbiome and your mitochondria. Inputs your epigenome can use. What about trauma or long-term stress? They can leave heavy epigenetic fingerprints. But plasticity works both ways. Safe relationships, therapy, and steady routines can nudge tags back toward balance. The takeaway: your thoughts are not magic spells. They're steering signals, subtle, cumulative, powerful over time when paired with habits. You don't need perfection, you need repetition. So today, tune your antenna. Choose one signal to broadcast. Calm breathing, a short walk, a kinder story about yourself. Then do it again tomorrow, because your cells are always listening, and the station you pick most often becomes the soundtrack your genes play. Imagine sailing across a perfect blue ocean. And then, suddenly, it feels like reality has a loading screen. Fish vanish, the water turns murky, the soundtrack of life drops to a low hiss. Welcome to oceanic dead zones, places where the simulation stops rendering. Dead zones are stretches of seawater with so little oxygen that most marine life can't survive. Not poison, not monsters, just a quiet, suffocating absence of breath. Scientists call it hypoxia. Oxygen levels so low, biology hits pause. How do we de-render an ocean? It starts on land. Fertilizers and sewage wash into rivers, then oceans. Algae blooms explode. Algae die and sink, feeding oxygen-consuming bacteria. Warm surface waters cap the ocean, stopping mixing. No mixing. No fresh O2. Just a spreading gray zone where fins turn back. You've seen some of the big ones on the map. The Gulf of Mexico's seasonal dead zone, often the size of a small country. The Baltic Sea, with one of the largest hypoxic areas on Earth. The Arabian Sea's oxygen minimum zone, supercharged by monsoon cycles. They flare up seasonally, then fade, like a glitch that gets patched, then returns after every update. Inside, creatures that can swim, leave. Others suffocate or abandon their homes. Fisheries chase the edges, where oxygen returns, and predators stack up, compressing life into thin ribbons of survivable sea. It's not just tragic, it's unstable. Food webs buckle, economies tremble, and sometimes the deadness lingers, as if the ocean forgot how to draw itself there. But this isn't a final crash screen. Dead zones can be reversed. When the Black Sea's nutrient inputs dropped after the early 1990s, oxygen crept back. Where wetlands buffer runoff, blooms shrink. When wastewater gets treated, the water relearns how to breathe. So what actually fixes the render? Smarter fertilizer use, precision timing and amounts, so fields feed plants, not plankton. Restoring wetlands and riparian buffers, nature's filters. Upgrading sewage treatment to strip nutrients before they hit the coast. Rebuilding oyster reefs and seagrass that lock up nutrients and add oxygen. cutting greenhouse gases. Cooler, mixed oceans hold more O2. The ocean is not broken code. It's responsive. When inputs change, outputs change. If I picture the sea as a simulation, then dead zones are a debug message, pointing at nutrient overload and warming. And like any good player, I can fix my side, what I buy, how I vote, how I treat water, and what I ask leaders to do. Because the ocean will render what we feed it wisely, and watch life pop back in, textures, colors, and the wild chorus of breath. Imagine sailing across a perfect blue ocean. Here's a weird truth about the internet. Every time I tap, I'm not a robot. I feel a little smug. But that tiny click, it's not just proving I'm human. It's teaching machines how to be more like me. You think you're passing a test, but the test is actually learning from you. That's the CAPTCHA lie. The myth says CAPTCHA stops bots, crosswalks, traffic lights, buses. I'm doing my part. Quick, harmless, kind of annoying. Except, that's not the full story. CAPTCHAs don't just gatekeep, many of them quietly harvest human perception. When I label a blurry street sign, I'm not only verifying myself, I'm correcting an image for a machine that couldn't. Think about reCAPTCHA, storefronts, bridges, bikes. They line up perfectly with the hardest problems in computer vision. Reading text in the wild, recognizing objects, understanding street scenes. Why? Because those are exactly the skills machines need to navigate the real world. Invisible CAPTCHAs ramp it up, I might not even see a puzzle. Mouse movement, typing rhythm, device signals. If it's unsure, it throws me the tiles. Either way, it collects a signal from me. Am I saying CAPTCHA is evil? No. The internet has a bot problem, but the trade-off isn't obvious. My proof of humanity is also free, high-quality labeling for machine learning. Millions of us, every day, refining models we'll never meet. And here's the twist. The better the models get, the harder CAPTCHAs become. So I spend more time proving I'm human because machines are getting better at being me. That's the treadmill. So what can I do that actually helps? First, favor sites that use privacy-respecting alternatives. Look for names like Turnstile or Friendly CAPTCHA. Second, tighten my own authentication so fewer sites need crude checks. Use passkeys or hardware keys where I can. Strong, unique passwords with a manager. Turn on multi-factor. Third, reduce the fingerprint. Keep my browser updated. Limit third-party cookies. Use privacy settings that block cross-site tracking. Some browsers have built-in anti-fingerprinting that lowers how interesting I look to bot filters. Fourth, push back with my clicks. If a site is drowning me in puzzles, say so. Providers pay attention when users bounce. Big picture? CAPTCHA isn't going away tomorrow, but I can stop pretending it's just a lock on a door. It's also a classroom.
I'm about to take you on a wild ride through one of the most famous UFO mysteries ever, Betty Hill's star map. Did aliens visit, or did we just connect dots that were never meant to line up? Quick backstory, in 1961, Betty and Barney Hill reported an abduction on a lonely New Hampshire road. Under hypnosis, Betty described a room on a craft and a star map shown to her. Here's where the map as proof angle kicks in. Marjorie Fish, a schoolteacher and amateur astronomer, tried to decode it. She built 3D models with beads and fishing line from star catalogs of sun-like stars. She spun the model until Betty's pattern lined up from a specific viewpoint. Her match, Zeta Reticuli, 2 sun-like stars about 39 light-years away. Betty's lines looked like trade routes between sun-like stars. Short lines equals nearby systems, long lines equals major routes. From near Zeta Reticuli, the layout aligned with Betty's drawing. Why people got excited. Betty's map predated catalogs identifying some of those sun-like stars. The pattern favored stars like ours, plausible hosts for life. The route suggested intentional travel, not random dots. But let's pressure test this. Pattern matching. With enough dots and viewpoints, you can force matches. Selection bias. Star catalogs changed over time. Moving goalposts. Any network of points can be stitched into routes after the fact. Still, restrict to sun-like stars within about 55 light-years. And the Zeta Reticuli alignment stays one of the best-known fits. Not perfect or bulletproof, but not trivial either. So, did aliens visit? I can't prove that. The map as proof claim was surprisingly sophisticated for the early 1960s. Either a huge cosmic coincidence or something deeply weird happened on that road. I want to hear from you. If Fish nails it, drop Zeta in the comments. If it's pattern hunting, type chance. Tell me one piece of data that would flip your opinion. If you like this deep dive, hit subscribe, smash that like, ring the bell, see you in the stars. If aliens are really trying to talk to us, they're not using English. Today, I'm breaking down the top 3 secret languages aliens could be using and the clues that make them plausible. Number 1, prime pulse. Math. Math is the same everywhere. If you're an alien and you want zero confusion, you send pure numbers. Think bursts of radio energy counting out prime numbers. 2, 3, 5, 7 or encoding P. Why primes? They're a universal signature, impossible to mistake for random noise. Humans have already tried this with the Arecibo message, packing a little picture into binary at the hydrogen frequency. Some strange signals, like the famous wow blip, got people talking, but nothing confirmed. Still, if a message ever repeats cleanly with structure, primes constant simple pictures, that's the doorbell. Number 2, chemseed code. Imagine a language that isn't spoken, it's grown. Aliens could encode information in molecules, minerals DNA, like sequences. Then, let comets' dust carry it across star systems. We call this directed panspermia as a hypothesis, seeding life data. Why this works? Chemistry is universal. Molecular patterns can survive for ages. Think of strings that spell out prime gaps, golden ratios, universal amino acid maps. If we ever find a biological sequence that looks more like a zip file than evolution, that's not an accident. That's a hello. Humans have already encoded images, text and DNA in labs, so the technique is real, just not alien. Yet. Number 3, neutrino or gravity Morse. Radio gets blocked, neutrinos don't care, they fly through entire planets with barely a whisper. Modulate the rate. Dots and dashes. And you've got a cosmic telegraph. Or use gravity. Gravitational waves can carry patterns across galaxies. Timing chirps, spacing them, could spell out numbers, maps, or dates. Hard to send, harder to spoof, which makes a true signal stand out. So, prime pulse math, chemseed code, and neutrino or gravity Morse. If a pattern repeats, defies random, and survives the cosmos, we'll know. Subscribe for more mind-bending space intel. And drop a comment. Which code do you believe?
I'm going to say the scary part first. If life is common, something out there is wiping it out. That something is what scientists call the Great Filter. I'll break it down fast. The universe is old, full of stars older than our sun. If intelligent life emerges easily, galaxies should be buzzing with civilizations millions of years ahead of us. Where are they? That silence is the Fermi paradox, and the Great Filter is one brutal answer. There's a step from dead matter to star-spanning life that is so unlikely, or so deadly, almost nobody makes it through. So where is the filter? Option 1. It's behind us. Maybe abiogenesis, the jump from chemistry to the first cell, was a near miracle. Or maybe complex cells, big brains, language, stable civilization are freak accidents we already passed. If that's true, our silence is good news. We're rare, but the road ahead might be open. Option 2. It's ahead of us. Maybe most civilizations discover fossil fuels, nukes engineered pathogens, runaway AI, and then self-destruct. Or perhaps cosmic threats, gamma bursts, rogue AI probes, or resource traps. Snuff them out before they go interstellar. If that's true, the silence is a warning. Which is scarier? It depends on what we find next. Microbes on Mars Europa or Enceladus? Bad news. That hints life emerges easily, pushing the filter toward our future. A whole biosphere elsewhere with complex organisms? Worse. But if we keep finding nothing, no life next door, no signals, no megastructures, that's comforting. It suggests early steps were insanely hard, and we're the lucky break. So what do I do with this? First, hedge the future. Reduce existential risks. Secure biolabs, align AI, manage nukes, protect climate. Second, spread out. Multiple habitats, Moon-Mars orbital, make civilization harder to wipe out. Third, listen and look. SETI exoplanet atmospheres techno-signatures. Every non-detection is a data point. Here's the twist. The Great Filter is terrifying, but it's also motivating. If it's behind us, we might be the only minds that get to understand the universe. If it's ahead, our choices right now decide whether consciousness keeps going. Either way, our century matters. If that lit a fire under you, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive, and drop a comment. Do you think the Great Filter is behind us or ahead? Why? I'm reading every take. And remember, silence isn't comfort. It's a question. Let's answer it.
Myth, our brains will become batteries for AI. Reality, energy flows the other way. Alright, let's unpack that. If you've heard about Neuralink or brain chip startups, you've probably wondered, will AI feed on our thoughts like a power bank? Short answer, no. Here's the deal. A brain-computer interface. BCI is basically a microphone for your neurons. A brain-computer interface. BCI is basically a keyboard for your neurons. It listens to electrical activity, translates it into data. Sometimes sends tiny signals back to help restore movement or senses. It doesn't sip volts from your brain. The chip has its own battery or induction charger. Myth, AI will harvest your mind for power. Reality, AI runs on data and electricity from servers, not your biology. The energy it wants is information, patterns in neuron spikes, not calories or volts. Myth, one chip equals instant superintelligence. Reality, today's implants have hundreds to thousands of electrodes. Your brain has about 86 billion neurons. That's like listening to a stadium through a handful of microphones. Useful? Yeah. Omniscient? Not even close. Myth, no privacy. Every thought is recorded. Reality, current BCIs capture very specific signals. Move a cursor, type a letter, feel a touch. It's not reading your childhood memories or secret crush, but data security matters. If it can be measured, it can be misused. Encryption isn't optional. Offline modes aren't optional. Patient control isn't optional. Myth, you'll be hacked and mind-controlled. Reality, wireless medical tech already uses strong security layers. Risk is never zero, but we can harden the stack. Firmware signing, local whitelists, physical safety limits. Myth, chips replace human agency. Reality, good BCIs are co-pilots. You set the intent, the system translates. Early users gain agency, texting, moving a cursor, even feeling touch again. So will our brains become batteries for AI? No. If anything, our brains are the pilots, and AI is the autocomplete. What should you watch for next? Safety data, over years, not months. How many electrodes? How stable? How much bandwidth? Who owns the neural data? You, the clinic, or the cloud? Open standards so you're not locked to one company for life. Here's the real future picture. Short term, speech for people who can't speak. Short term, control for those who can't move. Mid-term, faster typing. Mid-term, haptic feedback. Mid-term, maybe seamless or controls. Long-term, ethics and rights. Neural privacy, consent, and portability. Powering AI with your brain, not the game. Empowering you with better interfaces, that's the play. If this cleared up a myth or two, tap subscribe. Drop a comment. What's your biggest BCI fear or hope? I'll pin the most thoughtful take. Share this with someone who thinks Skynet runs on brain juice. See you in the next one.